What is happening out there, Rotoscouts baseball fans? Welcome to a Friday show, gang. Couple minutes late getting started. Apologies about that. Was just getting one last pass up at updating the website for all the confirmed lineups. Had a couple line movement pieces that I wanted to take care of as well. So, fresh update just went up on the site for hitter projections. Got a few lineups confirmed. We're waiting on some more for this big 10-game afternoon slate. Big, dumb, broken up day. Course, FanDuel went and did the dumbest thing possible. We've got 10 games in a solid afternoon main slate on DraftKings. FanDuel decided to go with a different approach, breaking up the entire day into three separate 5-game slates across the 15 and making their main slate start at 7:45 tonight. So we've got two wildly different days. We're here to talk mostly about this afternoon slate, the 10-game main slate on DraftKings, which is broken into two separate 5-game slates on FanDuel, the 1 o'clock version of which is a better set of contests than it looks like the 4 o'clock hour is. But we'll cover all of those games for both DraftKings and FanDuel. FanDuel pricing that you'll see during this is those two split up slates. It's not the all day slate. And then I have the 5 games for the night slate, the main slate on FanDuel loaded in here. If you're looking for those on the website right now, they're not up yet. They'll be up after this 1 o'clock slate locks. I'll put the night slate hitting and pitching projections up there. I'll probably run top stacks for that. Home run picks for those games are already up. The main home run pick comes from this set of games. But it's a big, messy day. Makes it fun. I saw that last night at like late this morning and just shook my head. Knew it was going to be a big, dumb, long day. I haven't even looked at what NBA and NHL have to bring for us. I'm sure NBA has a decent-sized slate. NHL probably not because they ran 14 yesterday, so hopefully that's at least light. Yeah, it looks like not too bad. Probably an 8-gamer for NBA. So not too bad. Yeah, just 2 hockey games today, full stop, 7 o'clock and 10 o'clock. So that'll be dumb. But those will be easy. Those will be up a little later in the day if you're an NBA or NHL DFS fan. If you're new here, everything is included for your under $1 a day at Rotoscouts. So you get access to all this baseball stuff we're about to go through. You also get those NBA projections. You also get those NHL DFS projections for every single main slate. A lot of bang for your buck over at Rotoscouts. Check it out. As we get started here, like button, subscribe, all down below. I know most of you guys probably just do that out of habit when you open a video like I do. Just like it out of the gate. And then if the show's no good, you take it away later on. But at least you've remembered to like. Ducking is here. Meech, House, Cooge. Good to see you guys. Like crew so far, but I'm sure more people will trickle in as we're talking. A lot to get through, so let me pull up the old run board here, and we'll kind of dive on in. Let's see. All right. Our cut line is there. Everything above that one is this 10-game main slate. That Milwaukee, Seattle, Houston, Atlanta, and Mets bunch is the evening. So, big juicy one at the beginning of the day. Dodgers at Nationals. Dodgers pulling a 6+ implied total. Monster favorites in a 9.5 run game. That is a very interesting looking spot for offense. Shohei Ohtani, I believe our first guy of the season at twice the magic number. He's 20+ on the home run model today. They're going up against Miles Mikolas. Emmett Sheehan on the mound for the Dodgers. Very interesting starter with a lot of strikeout upside. Short start in his first one, a little bit bumpy, gave up 4 earned, 6 strikeouts over the 4 innings, though. Should be in line for a better start here. Nats at just a 3.62 implied total. The Cards, one of the low-end spots of the day, 3.23 implied, one of the bottom-ranked teams overall. Tigers looking a lot better on their side, 4.33 implied for them. It's Michael McGreevy on the bump for the Cards and our guy Framber Valdez on the mound for the Tigers. Framber, adequate in his first start, gave up 7 hits, what less than 6 innings, only 1 earned run, 2 runs total, 5 strikeouts. Typical Framber type of a start. Like him a lot in this spot today. Projects out very strong. The Marlins at the Yankees. Yanks home opener, 3.24 implied total. 3.23 implied total for the Marlins. 4.37, 4.38 for the Yankees. Solid spot. They're showing a little bit of power, but Jody Perez is on the mound for the Marlins. Excellent young pitcher with a lot of strikeout potential. Went 7 innings, 3-run ball, 5 hits, 8 strikeouts in his debut this season. Yankees, we know, can get cut down by solid pitchers, especially those who can induce some swing and miss. So not a safe spot, but the Yanks showing a fair amount of offense, plenty of upside there. The Padres, the Red Sox. Red Sox pulling one of the better totals on this slate at 4.75. 4.37 implied for the Padres. This is, it was Will Warren on the mound for the Yankees, by the way. I think I skipped that. This one is Michael King against Sonny Gray. A couple of interesting pitchers here, a couple of former Yankees. King, the ability to suppress power a little bit coming through the model, but that 4.75 implied total is pushing the Red Sox offense up the board a little bit. So they're looking pretty solid, but I don't mind King at all. I think that's an interesting four corners type spot. He went 5 in his first start. It was pretty ugly, though. 6 strikeouts, 4 walks. Only allowed 1 unearned run, though, and 1 hit over 20 batters. So outside of the walks, not that problematic. We want to see a little bit more strikeout upside, but I think he's playable here. I just don't love tangling with the Red Sox and Fenway in this spot. Sonny Gray on the other side of that one, just 4 innings in the debut. Give it 3 earned, 4 runs total on 6 hits, struck out 5. Adequate. I think that's a similar things about that I said about Michael King. I think you can play Sonny Gray going against those Padres. Not a ton of strikeout in that lineup. Some danger in that lineup, but Sonny, an above average veteran know-how type pitcher, solid righty. So I think 4 corners there. You can definitely take the Pods offense at probably lighter ownership going back the other way. Blue Jays at the White Sox. The White Sox, a slate low 3.11 implied total. Ouch. They're going up against Dylan Cease, who looks like a buzzsaw today. Should rack up a healthy strikeout total. He had 12 in 5 1/3, struck out 12 of 22 hitters in the debut, give up 1 run on 3 hits. Just tremendous opportunity going up against that White Sox team. And then his Blue Jays pulling a 4.51 implied total. That's a pretty decent spot as well for some offensive upside. They're going up against Grant Taylor as an opener, who's going to be followed by Sean Burke. Taylor's tremendous. Burke is decidedly average. You're only getting like an inning, maybe an inning and a third, inning and 2/3, depending on the batting order out of Grant Taylor. But a lot of upside in him were he to make a longer start. Might take the top off that offense through the first inning. That's the one thing that we get a little bit concerned about when there's an elite arm opening, and Taylor's got the potential to be that. Maybe it does take that first plate appearance and knock it down a peg for the top of the batting order. So just something to think about when you're considering stacking the Blue Jays, but they look pretty solid, and Vegas likes them a lot at that 4.51. The Reds and the Rangers, solid total on the Texas side, and their home, I believe their home opener. Reds coming in with Brady Singer on the mound. It's Mackenzie Gore going the other way. I like Gore. Singer had a very good, Singer had a decent start in his first one. Struck out 5, but gave up 3 earned runs. Don't have it all memorized. Give up 3 earned runs, 5 hits over 4 innings, faced 20 hitters. Not a great start. Just was okay with the 5 strikeouts in the 4 innings. That was against the Red Sox. Mackenzie Gore, 5 1/3, 7 strikeouts, 2 earned runs on 2 hits against the Phillies at Philly, was very good in his first start. So I like his upside in this spot, going up against a middle of the board, I think is fair. Reds team with a little bit of power and a little bit of danger, but definitely some interesting strikeout targets and a fairly low total in Vegas. The Rangers are showing more offense than I typically want to give them credit for. Singer can be gettable, but he can also be sharp. I don't love that spot maybe as much as the Vegas board might indicate. The Rays and the Twins, I think, is an interesting one. Just a 3.77 total for the Rays, but they're showing a little bit of power upside. It's Bailey Ober on the mound. He gave up 3 earned on 4 hits, struck out just 1, walked 1. Give up a home run in 4 innings, faced 17 hitters against the Orioles in his first start of the season. And we know what a roller coaster Bailey Ober can be. Rays are showing some power against. Our home run pick of the day, I went with a superstar type player, but from hopefully a somewhat lighter owned team to get away from the chalk a little bit. Home run picks have been good so far. I think 3 out of 9 for the main picks, and the sub picks, the team picks, have just been on fire. We'll get to that one in a little bit, but your home run pick comes from the Rays. 3.83 implied total on the Twin side. They're going up against Joe Boyle, who was good, not great in his first start. The nice thing to see there is he went 6 innings, faced 21 hitters, gave up 2 earned on 3 hits, struck out 4, didn't walk anybody. Premium strikeout upside. So I don't dislike Joe Boyle against a lower end Twins team with some strikeout available. As long as I'm getting 6 innings there, I like it quite a bit, actually. First Coors game of the year is on deck. 10-run total leads the day. Phillies at the Rockies. Phils obviously look tremendous. 5.91 implied total. Actually falling behind the Dodgers in terms of that implied total, despite the Dodgers playing in D.C. That said, Philly ranks out a little bit better. They edged out the Dodgers slightly in terms of the stack rankings, but plenty of upside there in both spots. Phils have Aaron Nola on the mound. They're going up against Michael Lorenzen. Fire away Phillies bats. As usual, though, Rockies, especially against this version of Aaron Nola, he was all right in his debut. 5 innings, struck out 7, but gave up 2 home runs, 3 earned on 5 hits. Against this version of Nola, and with the always present factor that the Rockies are always under own when they're in their home games. They get the bump from Coors Field too. It's not as apparent, obviously, in that run line, but you play this game in Philly or in a neutral park, and that team probably comes in at a 3.5 implied total or lower against Nola. So there is upside there, and they will be lower owned and less expensive than the Phillies in Coors Field. So they're at least in play, and probably wouldn't really have too much faith in Aaron Nola here. Definitely wouldn't want Lorenzen. The Cubbies and the Guardians, it's Cade Horton, it's Joey Cantillo. I think we can take a look at some pitching there. Both teams check down under 4 implied runs in a 7.5 run game. Not a great environment on either side between the two lineups. We greatly prefer the Cubs, though, if we have to take an offense out of that one. And then we close this slate out with Kyle Bradish against Mitch Keller. Kind of an interesting spot there. 4.48 implied total for the Orioles, pulling a little upside against Keller. He had a good one in the debut, 6 innings, 3 strikeouts, no walks, no runs on 3 hits. That's good, Mitch. We know what a roller coaster Mitch can be. We've been chasing it for years. I think we've been done with it for years now as well. But every now and then, he's going to break off a decent start. And these Orioles are gettable. Improved though they may be, they are gettable. Bradish, 4 strikeouts, 3 walks, 2 earned, 3 runs total on 2 hits. Faced 19 hitters over 4 2/3 in the first one. Gave up a homer. Kind of an all-over-the-place start. A lot of upside there. Pitcher that a lot of people are kind of calling for a big breakout season. Plenty of strikeout stuff. Good matchup against the Pirates. Some strikeout in that lineup for him and a lighter hitting overall team, but an improved team nonetheless. 4.13 implied for them. Not the lowest on the board. Lower third of the board, though. And then you get into that night slate. We'll talk about that. Well, again, we'll go through the night slate. Hot spot, I think, is right here. First game back in Sutter for the Athletics. The Astros against the Athletics. 10-run total there. We've also got the Diamondbacks game pulling a 9.5 run total. So both of those looking fairly meaty. 5 runs in 3 on 3 of those teams. So you're going to want to look there. But we'll talk about that later. Projections for those games will be up on the site after the 1 o'clock slate locks. Go Fizz. What's going on? Mill stacking of the leftist. My thoughts exactly. Cubs says it just takes Sonny so many pitches to get out. Yeah, he's never been a very efficient pitcher. And then us Yankee fans remember him from those ugly days with the Yanks. But he's been rock solid outside of a couple, a bumpy season or two. Absolutely tremendous veteran pitcher with a lot of upside. But yeah, not the most efficient guy in the world and can be frustrating, can be a little bit of a tightrope at times if you've got him in your lineup. I don't know why the computer's worrying so much. I'm not running any Python in the background today. Well, it did go through. I decided the easiest way to handle the stupid back and forth naming issue, because I can't do like the double replace thing that I was talking about yesterday, is just to make sure that I'm actually putting all the juniors in. So I went through and I flagged the common guys. That way, because it's all taken care of in our various stat boards and everything with find replaces. But it wasn't without manually replacing it on that finalizer board. At some point, the best answer would just be to build the player numbers into that Python code, but that's a whole other pain in the neck. Anyway, let's get this up and slide it over to here. And I meant to flag these guys in terms of which guys were on which slate. All right. I'm going to try and do this as best I can. I forgot that these guys weren't. I meant to come in here and highlight the guys in red that aren't pitching on the afternoon slate, but you guys know who's who. Dylan Cease, tremendous top of the board on both sites. 10-2-9-9 on FanDuel, DraftKings, respectively. Fire away. I think that is the spot of the day. I think there's monster strikeout upside. Some word about Dylan Cease having implemented I want to say a better changeup, I think was the pitch. Brought a new pitch or an old pitch back into the arsenal, and it's just made him even more effective potentially. We'll see how it develops. I mean, we're talking about 1 start in, but this is a fantastic second start to grab him. Woo, that comes out of the later slate. Fromber in the 2 spot, 8,900. Feels a little bit cheap for Fromber. Pulling a great projection on both sites. Little stronger on the FanDuel slate at 96, but also a little bit more expensive. Or at 35, rather, but a little bit more expensive. We all know the drill with Fromber. It's keeping the ball down, run preventer, medium strength strikeout rate. But against that young Cardinals lineup, that is an ideal spot for him. I really like that. Bradish, totally believe 10,000, 8,300, very inexpensive on the DraftKings slate. That is a really nice spot. Mackenzie Gore for 88, not bad. Sonny slides right in there against a challenging Padres lineup in a hitter-friendly environment, so it's not a great spot for Sonny. Couple points removed from the very top of the board, but definitely an interesting starter. Horton's on this slate against the Guardians. That's another premium upside spot. You can see, again, a couple points removed. On the FanDuel slate, he bumps back up above a couple of those guys on the back of not entirely sure what. Another strikeout? That would... Another inning, probably. Yeah, probably the innings pitched scoring difference. Because it's probably not down to a strikeout there. But either way, bumps back ahead of those guys slightly. 92, 8,000 against a lower-end Guardians lineup. Not a problem. As long as you can get through those like top three hitters in the Guardians, there's plenty of upside going through the rest of that lineup. Judy Perez, again, this one kind of slices through the middle. He's very, very good. Could have a tremendous start if the Yanks are swinging and missing up there at his excellent electric swing and miss stuff. But at the same time, Yankees in Yankee Stadium can definitely pound. 8,100 feels worth finding out at that price on DraftKings, though. That's a big-time upside spot for that price. Probably, given this board, it's a little unfair to call him an SP2, but if you want to pay up SP2-wise, that's your top guy. And then maybe you can go like, Yuri and Bradish and kind of double middle it. It's not a double pay down, but it's double middle. Boyle's interesting just for the strikeout upside. 7,000 gets awfully cheap. If we're getting 6 innings of Joe Boyle with that strikeout potential for that price, not a bad option as SP2. I do think you could pair Yuri and Joe Boyle for a nice middle and cheap guy pairing. Sheehan is also right there with those guys. 78, 73. Very fairly priced across sites. Another pitcher with a lot of strikeout potential. McLean's on the later slate. Singer, mix and match from the middle. 86, I don't love it. I'd rather have some of the more expensive guys we already talked about, or maybe Boyle, Sheehan for cheaper. 76, though, I think just puts him right in that SP2 mix on DraftKings. King, yes, but mid. He's priced kind of like these guys. There's a lot of projection difference between him down here in the lower mid-20s and some of these guys cracking 30. Ober, I'm probably more interested in targeting with raised bats, but I think if you're building an abundance, you're building a 150 full portfolio of lineups, you definitely want to carve out a little share for him. And at 6,700 on DraftKings, I do think he's very much in play for a fair number of SP2 shares. Just a roller coaster of a starter. There are talented bats in that raised lineup, and again, they're showing a little power upside, but the Vegas line favors him, so it's not a terrible spot. Cantillo, kind of mix and match SP2 at 68 against the Cubs. It's just a good Cubs lineup, but a sub-4 total. Will Warren can be effective against the Marlins. The thing I worry about with Warren is the Aaron Boone hook. I think we get him for 4 and change into the 5th maybe, but the idea of completing a 6th inning is dicey. So that quality start very much in doubt on the FanDuel slate. Nolan, Colorado, no thank you. Keller against Baltimore. Take a shot here and there maybe. Wild price difference on Chad Patrick. Wow. 10-8 on DraftKings, 7,300 on FanDuel. Holy hell. That's one of the later games, though, yeah? Yeah. That is a wild pricing difference. You don't see it that dramatic all that often. I'd say it's somewhere in between. DraftKings probably too high, FanDuel probably too low. But again, that one's coming later. Later... Sean Burke, you don't want, especially in the split situation with him and Grant Taylor as a follower, you just get lower end, shorter start, less opportunity to win the game, et cetera, et cetera. That one's later. McGreevy, no thank you. Michaelis against the Dodgers, no. Lunder Avila making his starting debut, I believe, on that later slate. I don't think you're going there. Even at 4,000, you're probably getting like 3 innings. But again, that's the later slate. That's a rough idea of what the pitching breakdown looks like. Ton of good options up through this way, though, if you couldn't tell, as I was naming everybody like, you probably want some of that. You probably want some of that. It's a deep, interesting pitching slate. And fairly priced, too. I mean, there's not crazy broken high prices on the aces. A lot of guys through the 8s and upper 7s on DraftKings. plenty to work with. A lot of good pairings from that mid-range. Again, like that pairing, I think is great or potentially great. Or like Boyle, Bradish, potentially tremendous. Obviously, you want Cease with any of those guys. There's a lot of directions to go on DK today. Yes, Rip King. Happy Connor Griffin Day. I meant to mention it yesterday when we got the news, and I meant to mention it in my wind-up when I started the show, and I completely forgot. Melted my brain yesterday. I saw a tweet mentioning, just dropping in casually, Connor Griffin was 12 years old during COVID, which I guess as we're all 18, 19-year-olds, but it just melted my brain. Dude's making his MLB debut today. He was 12 years old like 5 minutes ago. Crazy. But yeah, welcome to the show, Connor Griffin, one of the top prospects in baseball. Pirates, if you guys are not familiar. So we'll get there in a minute. But yeah, big debut. What's he priced at? This is when my brain goes blank and I don't remember who the Pirates are playing. Orioles. Oh, so that's much later. We'll get there later in like 2 hours. 35 on DK, 25 on FanDuel. FanDuel's being friendly with those rookies with the pricing this year. Not quite as cheap as McGonigal made his debut at, but that's a friendly price. That is a potentially elite bat right out of the gate. Not a great spot to match up going up against Bradish, but yeah, primo option. So if you're going Pirates, that's a good reason to consider them. The pairing of him and O'Neal Cruz and some of the other pieces and parts in that lineup now, they're a lot more interesting of a team, and they're going to be a good stack for DFS purposes through the season, or a very playable, interesting stack, I should say. All right, take a sip of coffee. We'll dive into this thing. Questions, comments, concerns, drop them into the chat. The website is rotoscouts.com. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. And let's go ahead. We do have, as I've revealed in the past couple of shows, we do have this year's so far stats buried under here. I can pull them up if we want to take a look at anybody's starts and so on and so forth. I'm sure I'll do it in the course of talking about these games, but still meaningless. Anything that's happened this year in a week is completely meaningless. Don't overreact. Don't make changes to your season-long teams and drop a guy you took in the third round just because he's off to a 0 for 26 start. That would be bad, but it is early. Those numbers mean nothing. Dodgers, this number means something. 6.02 implied. Slate high. High for the entire day. On a day that has a Coors Field game. On a day that has a game at Sutter Home later on. Dodgers in D.C. Slate high. 6-run implied. You can see part of the reason why is that monster aforementioned 20 plus in the home run model for Ohtani. Typically, we're looking for 10. We've got 3 guys over the magic number, one of those 3 doubling the magic number, and basically everyone else in the lineup at an 8 or a 9, except for Alex Freeland, who does have a little pop in the bat down the bottom of the lineup, but just kind of a developing player that we need some numbers on first. This is all going against Miles Mikolas, who last season allowed a 4.33% home run rate on a ton of contact, 12.7% barrel rate, alarmingly over our 10% threshold, 41.8% hard hit, same thing over the hard hit threshold of 40%. Just 89.3 miles an hour of exit velo on average is not alarmingly bad, but it obviously on that kind of trajectory, that kind of a hard hit rate led to quite a few home runs. Low end stuff, 12 points below average across the full arsenal, 14.9% strikeout rate last year. This is a contact oriented pitcher who can't really get outs, just in there to eat some innings for this team. So yeah, fire away with Dodgers bats. Any combination that you can get to these guys. This is the confirmed version of the lineup. It's their standard. There are superstars up and down. On the national side, 3.62 implied for them. Sheehan for the Dodgers, really high-end starter, potentially anyway. In a dozen starts, 73 and a third innings last season, pitched to a 30.6% strikeout, had a 2.82 ERA with a 3.37 xFIP, 3.20 Sierra underneath it, a sub-1 whip. Wasn't problematic at all in terms of putting guys on. 23.02 came on his BB. Kid is tremendous. Excellent stuff. Grades out above average across all of stuff, location, and pitching plus. Just a rock-solid young starter. 7,300, 7,800 to tackle a fairly low-end Nationals lineup. You've got James Wood. He's a threat. CJ Abrams is a very good player. Otherwise, Luis Garcia is just meh. Dalen Lyle, Brady House, Nasim Nunez. These are not hitters that we're fearing with a pitcher like Sheehan. So very cheap, potential ceiling on top of the projections here. We get out to a little bit more depth than I might have projected. We get out to a nice strikeout total, and this could be a big upside spot for their starter. And piling him on top of a Dodgers stack is not a terrible idea, given how cheap he is on both sides. And those bats for the Dodgers, honestly, yeah, Ohtani's expensive. Tucker's fairly priced where he is. On DraftKings, Mookie is starting to get inexpensive at 47, and you work your way down from there, down that excellent lineup. On FanDuel, he's still 42, but you get to Freddie, and he's 34. Bounce back up with Will Smith. They're a little more high price, challenging on FanDuel, I'd say. Little discount on DraftKings, despite being at a 6-run total. So yes to Emmett Sheehan, no to Miles Mikolas. Big yes to the Dodgers bats. Obviously, you want to get Ohtani. First base outfield eligibility is nice to work with on DraftKings. Outfield only on FanDuel. You just plunk them in if you can afford it. 55 home runs and 20 stolen bases in a monster year last year, a 172 WRC plus. Just 19 points shy of Aaron Judge? Judge was 201, right? Or was it 204? I forget. Still, Ohtani, it's cute. It's a nice player. Reasonable. He does his thing. Dude's ridiculous. Kyle Tucker, 55, 4,022 homers, 25 stolen bases, a 198 ISO that should be over 200 most seasons. Slipped a little bit in terms of his premium contact marks last season, down from 12.7 the year before. It looked a little bit more like 2 years ago at 10.4, but it's super low strikeout, high walk rate. So puts a ton of balls in play, but also just walks his way to first base, supports a major on-base percentage, 372 ex-Woba under an already excellent 363 Woba last season, 136 WRC plus. He's just one of the best lefty bats in baseball and joins this team. It's ridiculously unfair. Mookie's tremendous. Freddie, as I've mentioned, a little bit of potential alleviation of role and pressure with Tucker joining the team as the big lefty up top. Should in the long term help Freddie. Not off to the greatest of starts at 208, 243, 75. None of these Dodgers bats have really gotten out of the gate all that strong. A couple few home runs across the board, but nothing totally wild so far in 2026. But again, none of that actually matters. It'd be nice to see Freddie off to a good start, but that knocked the price down a little bit. 4,500 feels like a bargain for a guy who still hit 24 home runs last season at a 139 WRC plus, a 350 xWOBA. Will Smith, one of the top catcher bats in the sport. Tremendous slash line last year. Creator runs 53% better than the average player, let alone the average catcher. 389 Woba, slightly betrayed by a 378X, but that is still a fantastic mark. So even if it was a 378, you wouldn't be complaining. Max Muncy, tremendous barrel rate and hard hit each of the last few seasons. Just 19 home runs in a partial season last year, 388, call it a half season. Max is still tremendous at getting on base, walked 16.5% of the time, got on a 376 clip last season. 3,900 is too cheap for Max Muncy. 3,000 is too cheap for Max Muncy. Against Miles Mikolas, Max Muncy might hit 9 home runs today. 9.21 in your home run model. Teoscar Hernandez, another guy who can blast. 10.17 for him, not to be suppressed by hitting 7th. If he was hitting higher in the lineup, that would be a bigger number in the home run model. He hit 25 last year in a down season. I like him to come back for at least approaching 30 home runs this year. Slipped a little bit in barrel rate, went from 14.9 in 2024 down to 11.5 last year, but still hit the ball exceedingly hard. Struck out a little bit less, but also walked a little bit less. I think we improve some of those things around the edges. We get up over 600 plate appearances. We're back to 30-ish home runs. Andy Pages, 27 homers, 14 steals, a 113 WRC plus last season. Excellent bat to find cheap down at the bottom of this lineup. 4,000 helps make things work. 3,000 on FanDuel. Still an 8.14 for him in the home run model. And then Alex Freeland, who I mentioned the other day and at the beginning for not being in an 8 or a 9 in the home run model. Just a 6 for the young kid. 2,800, 2,400 though. Very, very cheap. Didn't have a great 97 plate appearances last year, but does have some prospect pedigree. That is an interesting player, one of their better prospects in a deep farm system. So that's a very cheap price to just plunk him in at second base and just help average things down. Even if he's just getting on base and setting the table back up here for Ohtani, you want to do that. Let's see if we can build Tucker in. I'll grab Will Smith, and then I'll take Max Muncy. We'll forgo the Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman shares, and we'll kind of take a broad strokes lineup here. Top two in the middle, one from the bottom. Wrap it all around. That's a $4,600 average. So yes, it's an expensive full 5-man, but it's definitely a less expensive version than you could see these Dodgers with at 2 weeks from now. And you get Ohtani, Tucker, Smith, Muncy, and then Freeland in there. It's not a bad setup. So there are definitely ways to build with these Dodgers at that immense total. On the Nats side, if I'm going here, obviously we want to get to James Wood, 31 homers, 15 steals last year, 127 WRC plus last season. 30 pretty empty plate appearances so far this year. He's got a home run on the board. It's nice to see at least. Luis Garcia Jr., 20 okay plate appearances, 250, 250, 300. We're looking for him to kind of set the table for this team a little bit more, and I don't know if he's got it in his game right now. A couple seasons back, .266, 9 home runs, 266, 304, 385 with an 84 WRC plus. Last season, he bounced up to a 111 WRC plus, hit 18 home runs, 282, 318, 444. I just don't know what the real version of this hitter is. Sorry, that was 2 years ago. Last year was 16 home runs, 339 xWOBA, but just a 300 WOBA, 91 WRC plus. That was the down season. So is he the 2024 guy? Is he the 2025 guy? I've got more evidence that he's the 2025 guy. But the 2025 guy did have an interesting xWOB under the surface that says he underperformed. So there's some debate raging in my head about who Luis Garcia Jr. really is. 2,900, 2,600, fitting him in at second base. If you're already going to this team, fine, fire away. But he's not an excuse. He's not a reason to go to this team. Dalen Lyle hit 9 homers, stole 8 bases, got on at a very strong 347 clip. Creator runs 32% better than average in a partial season last year. I had to stop hiding and unhiding things. Lyle, 351 plate appearances, half a season last year. Brady House is a mix and match piece. Substandard 274 plate appearances last year with just a 56 WRC plus, but he is hitting cleanup for 3,300 at third base, 2,600 on FanDuel. Something to do there maybe, but a light 4.3% barrel last season. Did have a 46.3% hard hit though. CJ Abrams gets on, steals bases, 315 on base, 31 stolen bases. He's getting on at a better clip than that. He will steal more bases. 19 home runs last season. He's about 15 to 20 home run type power. Probably your number 2 priority bat. Separated a little bit in this lineup from your number 1 priority bat, unfortunately, with several less than desirable hitters in between. Nasim Nunez is a stellar defender. Remains to be seen if he can hit his weight. I don't expect much in terms of batting average. He was very good at getting on base via the walk through the minors. Might be his saving grace in like OPS formats and on base and stolen base potential bonuses, run scoring. But that is a correlation piece, not a prime hitter kind of a piece. Taking him from the 6th spot ahead of Jordi Vivas, Keibert Ruiz, and Jacob Young is kind of a flawed approach because not a one of those guys is an adequate hitter and really primed to drive him in. I wish Nunez was maybe, I don't want to say leading off because that's also not appropriate. And I don't necessarily want to say hitting 3rd, but that might be a better spot in the long run than hitting 6th for what we want out of him. Lightly playable, cheap, second base shortstop on both sides. Probably rather have him for the FanDuel price than the DraftKings price, but usable if you're going to this team. Jordi Vivas, Keibert Ruiz, Jacob Young are guys you just don't really want that much. Keibert has always been a guy who is light strikeout, 9.7% last year, just 3% walk. So he's constantly putting the ball in play. He's just got nothing behind it. He's a slap hitting type catcher, and he really never finds any quality for it. Doesn't get on base, doesn't hit for average. 65 WRC plus last year, kind of a big skip. Dodgers bats, Emmett Sheehan. Nationals bats, Miles Michaelis. You don't really want that much of those last 2 things, I don't think. Thanks, Colin. I hadn't taken the time to find to check the weather. Let me pull up Mr. Roth's board here over at Prop Finder. So yeah, he's got that one orange. He's got the Cubbies game yellow and the Pirates game yellow. Cubs game, just 22% chance of precipitation, 70 degrees. Wind blowing across the field today, fortunately. In the Pirates game, 76 degrees, 45% chance of precipitation, wind blowing out to left, toward the left field foul pole, it looks like, at about 13 miles an hour. And then, yeah, the game in Minnesota at Target, for one, really cold, 39 degrees. Yikes, not baseball weather. About a 50%, 48% chance of precipitation there, 10-degree mile-an-hour wind blowing in. So not great hitting conditions for the spot where I did take our home run pick, but definitely primed for home run upside against that pitcher. So I'm sticking with it because I put them up and I don't typically change them. But yeah, that would be a weather spot of concern for sure. Definitely one to keep an eye on. Otherwise, nothing really pops. 23% chance of rain in Texas. Nothing crazy. Couple lineups in Marlins lineup since I'm here. Grab that. And what's the other one? White Sox? And the White Sox. $10.56. We got a 1:05 start on this one. Going to try and get us out in the 12:15 kind of a range. So we got a little time to do updates and lineup building for that lock. Again, 10 games on DraftKings, split slates on FanDuel that we're talking about right now. A 1:05 for 5 games and a 4 o'clock hour for 5 games. And then the main slate tonight for another 5 games on FanDuel. That has a night slate, I'm sure. I think it's a 4-game night slate on DraftKings for the 9 o'clock games. And then DraftKings has that 7 o'clock game on an island as a showdown, I believe is the setup, if I'm remembering correctly. Michael McGreevy, 7,200, 8,200. Feels a little expensive on FanDuel, 72. A dart throw of an SP2. Not a premium strikeout pitcher, just 14.5% over 95 and 2/3 and 16 starts last year. Worked to a 4.42 ERA with a 4.32 xFIP. This is not a pitcher that you really want to target for anything other than, scraps. And he's going up against a, albeit free swinging bunch of Tigers, but a very good Tigers lineup with plenty of power in it. I will point out that his 3% home run rate from last season and 1.16 from the season before on a small sample, having a bit of an impact on the typically robust numbers from the Pirates power bats. Kerry Carpenter, Riley Green, maybe a little bit light. Definitely upside for both of those two against a pitcher like this, just given the contact that he's going to allow them to make. But he has been effective at keeping the ball down, just 9-degree average launch. So that might be his saving grace, is if he gets through this team without giving up the big home run. Maybe he's just giving up 4 or 5 runs in via base hits, doubles, and so on. But not a spot you want to get to him. That's not a good reason to roster him for DFS purposes. Does not project well. Framber Valdez, on the other hand, primed for a good start here. As mentioned several times already this season, the Cardinals have dedicated this year to the youth. They've dedicated this year to seeing what they've got with some of these young kids. Yeah, there's a few names that you recognize in there that are more veteran or at least have been around for a few years. But the goal here is to develop kids. So this is going to be a targetable lineup through most of the season. There's some talent in here, no doubt. I still think a ton of Jordan Walker. Ivan Herrera is very good. Alec Burleson is a above average bat, I would say. But outside of that, pieces, parts, developing young players or below average options. So super targetable with a pitcher we already like quite a bit. Framber, excellent ability to keep the ball on the ground, 2.7-degree average launch last season, 1.87% home run rate. The strikeouts can fluctuate somewhat, 23.3 last year. He does tend to walk a few too many, so just a 14.8 strikeout minus walk. Pitched to a 3.66 ERA, but a 3.34 xFIP. 3.67 Sierra says the ERA was probably right in line with where it ought to be. Framber, every now and again, will give up a couple of runs, but it's typically not a big number because he limits the long ball. And against this team, I really like his upside to do that. Probably find a few strikeouts along the way, though some of these young hitters are pretty good so far at limiting strikeout. So he's in line for, at worst, I think, a typical Framber start where he works deep into the game, has a few really hyper-efficient innings because of the ground balls, and works up a nice fantasy score for us. So very much in play for 89. Happy to pay 96 for him as our second or third most highly projected starter on the FanDuel slate. If you're drawing cards, I don't think it's a great idea, just given Framber's attributes, what he's likely to do to this lineup in this game and their path towards scoring, not being, particularly elite in terms of home run hitting, in terms of big DFS scoring events. But what you do have to consider at the very least is how cheap these Cardinals are. On DraftKings, 4,200 for Alec Burleson is your high water mark. And he's the only player above 3,500. FanDuel, he's 34. Herrera's 31. 29 on Jordan. But still, again, cheap with a core of Very, very cheap guys on both sides. So this is kind of a building block team. I do think that it's probably best to issue a warning about that, though, rather than try and like focus in on something, it being something you might want to grab. I think their value is probably pretty trappy today. Yeah, it's going to let you build, but it's probably going to lead to a pretty low scoring secondary stack, 3-man, 2-man, even whatever it is, depending on who you're using. But especially if you're just focused on, I want to grab 3 hyper cheap pitchers or players, and you grab Joel Pozo, Thomas Segisi, and Jose Furman. That's not a great trio. You're probably, despite getting real cheap and buying a 5-man Dodgers with 2 good pitchers, probably not your best path. Even, yes, considering the variance, the leverage, et cetera, et cetera. I think more people will be on the Cardinals' value than their talent and their probability of success actually warrants, despite those cheap prices. If you do go there, Mason Wynn is entirely overrated. Back up into the leadoff spot, though. He does limit strikeout, puts the ball in play effectively, doesn't hit for power, doesn't barrel the ball, not getting a lot of fly ball out of this. It's just not a great spot and a bad matchup for him. 286 xWOBA, 91 WRC plus last year. Again, Herrera is an interesting bat. 3,500 a catcher if you want a one-off from this team. If you're bound and determined to go to Cardinals, he's probably your guy. 31 with outfield eligibility on FanDuel, fine. 19 home runs last year, a 137 WRC plus, and a very interesting 371 xWOBA under an already great 365 WOBA. Burleson, as mentioned, hits the ball squarely. 18 home runs, a solid slash line, 124 WRC plus last year. Ramon Urias has always been a source of reasonably cheap upside contact. Did hit 11 home runs in 391 plate appearances last year, 41.6% hard hit rate, but he's no star. He can strike out, does fill multiple positions for very cheap, hitting cleanup today. He would be a candidate. I'd probably look at just that straight line top 5 if I'm, gun to my head, had to play Cardinals. Jordan Walker, my favorite bat from this team overall, 25-29. I think by the end of the season, we'll see him as the most expensive Cardinals bat on a regular basis. We've gone through it a million times around here. 2 years ago, the rookie season was tremendous, underappreciated, underrated. They've been moving him up and down in the last couple of seasons and really messing with his playing time and his development and really screwed him up. 396 pretty bad plate appearances last year, but was one of the very best prospects in baseball just a couple seasons ago, and is younger than most of the kids coming up. Not younger than Connor Griffin, but younger than a lot of the other kids that are making their debuts these last 2 weeks. He's got several hundred plate appearances under his belt in the show. 22 plate appearances, home run on the board, getting on at a 364 clip. This is, again, nothing real about this yet, but it's very nice to see a player that we're expecting a lot of breakout from this year get off to this kind of a start. 390 WOBA and a 427 xWOBA under the surface as well. So for 25-29, absolutely he is in the vast majority of Cardinal stacks I make if I have to make Cardinal stacks. Pozo, Segisi, Fetterman, and Victor Scott, all skippable mix and match pieces at the absolute best. 70 plate appearances at Jose Fetterman last year, had a 129 WRC plus, maybe something to look at there. 377 on base in that tiny sample, 14.3% strikeout, and drew some walks, but it is a very small sample. Low-end options abound down the bottom. Victor Scott just runs, but he only gets on at a 305 clip. Still did steal 34 bases last year, but not a true wraparound guy for the lack of being able to really get on reliably. On the Tiger side, Mr. McGonigal, up to 3,000 on FanDuel. Congratulations. Finally got there. Only off to a 364, 445, 45 start to his major league career with a 432 WOBA and a 438 xWOBA under the surface. He had 25 plate appearances. Again, a meaningless sample, but this is one of the very best prospects in baseball. 4,200 works for me on DraftKings. Third base shortstop eligibility is nice to move pieces around, especially when your other third base option is Zach McKinstry and Javi Baez is the other shortstop on this team. That gives you a lot of flex to use Kevin McGonigal however you want for that price. Gleyber Torres at 3,600, 2,800. Absolutely adore that pick. 363 xWOBA, 113 WRC plus, and what is widely considered a bad season last year. Doesn't strike out, draws plenty of walks. Gleyber is an upside piece. Let other people leave him on the table when they go to the cards. That is a cheap price for a very good bat. Kerry Carpenter at 41-27, monster power upside against a righty like this. 26 home runs last season, a 335 xWOBA, matched his WOBA, 115 WRC plus, 12.3% barrel. Riley Green, the other big lefty bat for power, 17.1% barrel last year, hit 36 long balls. 121 WRC plus. Fantastic pairing, fire away with power, and not that expensive, honestly, on either site for those two. Dylan Dingler, I like the upside for power out of him as well. 13 home runs and 469 chances last year, but a 9.2% barrel, 45.6% hard hit, and a very interesting 351 xWOBA under that 326 WOBA. So a lot more to give. Really interesting, cheap catcher. McKinstry is a solid piece. 511 interesting enough fantasy plate appearances last year. 12 home runs, 19 stolen bases from a guy you can play at multiple spots for a low price on most slates or a medium price on most slates. He got on in a 333 clip, 114 WRC plus. Do need to call out that he hits the ball lightly, just a 6.1% barrel, 30.5% hard hit, and that impacts his xWOBA, 305 expected WOBA underneath a 333 actual. So definitely overperformed last season. I wouldn't expect a repeat. But you can get decent days for cheap prices out of Zach McKinstry. We've all seen it when we've gone to the Tigers. Torkelson for just 41.33, major power upside from down lineup. 31 home runs on the board last year, a 217 ISO for torque. Just a 5.87, 5.86 in the home run model. Because again, McGreevy does tend to keep the ball down, has the ability to maybe check power a little bit. But Torkelson, definitely a go-to down lineup. Parker Meadows, just cheap. Avi Baez, pretty disinterested in playing baseball. I'd rather have any of the other infielders on this team. Every now and then he's going to get into one this season. He hit a dozen home runs last year. Had a 271 xWOB under a 293 actual. Ouch. Fromber, Tigers. McGreevy, I guess. Cardinals bats. I don't really like either one of those things, but I would put him a little bit above the cards. Above the bats. Could be Travis. If Nate Eovaldi is available in any season-long format, you should add him. No concerns whatsoever about him until further notice. For a waiver wire flyer, you should definitely pick him up. If he runs into problems and isn't healthy or whatever, go ahead and drop him. But what did he do in the first start? First two starts, 4 innings, 4 2/3. Gave up 6 in the most recent game. That was against Baltimore. Gave up 5 on the 26 against Philly. 7 strikeouts in that game, 5 strikeouts in the second game. The lack of depth is to be expected as he's just, kind of rounding back into shape. But yeah, that is maybe, not going to repeat last year in terms of the ERA mark, especially not after that start. But that is a top 20 pitcher, top 25 pitcher when it's all said and done in a full season of health. Top 30 even is reasonable. It should not be on your waiver wire. Put it that way. I imagine you've got somebody that's more droppable than he is. Antonio likes the Ben Rice home run. I like that. I think I made Ben Rice the pick from the Yankees, not the overall pick, but he's the pick from the Yankees. 10.11 in your home run model today. 4 guys from the New York Yankees over the magic number. Trent Grisham, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, and Ben Rice. Jazz Chisholm Jr. falling just short of it. If he was hitting one spot higher up in the lineup, he would be over. 9.52 for Cody Bellinger, not far behind either. Comes up a little bit lighter with Austin Wells, Jose Caballero, and Ryan McMahon down the bottom of the lineup. We've got a little pop and a lot of quality down lineup from these Yankees. 4 points, what is that, 3.8? It's a little blurry on the screen. I'm looking at your guys' screen. 4.38 implied total for the Yanks. 3.23 on the Marlins side, but as mentioned in the windup, Jody Perez, tremendous starter. A lot of potential as long as he's on the mound all season. He made 20 starts, 95 1/3 last year. I like him to beat those numbers and beat that strikeout rate from last season, beat those run marks from last season. 3.79 Sierra under the 4.25 ERA says that he's got a good shot at it. So a pitcher like this always puts the Yanks in a little bit of jeopardy because they can get up there and they can swing and miss with the best of them while they're swinging for the fences. So a little bit of back and forth. I would play Jody against the Yankees, especially at just 81 on DraftKings. I think that's a tremendous price, as I said in the pitcher breakdown. Lets you do a lot going double middle with him and another mid-price guy. 88 on FanDuel, easily in play. In the debut start this season, we got 7 innings, 8 strikeouts, give up 3 earned runs, give up 2 homers, 5 hits, walk just 1. But what I love there is the 7 innings. Faced 27 hitters. It was against the Rockies. Probably not going to have that kind of a day today. But just the fact that he was able to get through that many hitters, throw enough pitches to strike out 8 in that game. I like the upside for depth if he's going well. I think they let him get that 6th inning. I think they let him get the upside to the quality start if it's going well. But a lot of good bats on the other side to make it not go well. For the Yanks, Will Warren, as mentioned, the thing I fear with Will Warren is the quick hook. 4 1/3. He struck out 3, he walked 2, gave up 5 hits, but just 1 earned run against San Francisco out west, and he was out of the game after 4 1/3. He gets into any trouble after the 4th inning, and Boone's going to hook him. Just how the guy manages, especially with the younger starters. And we saw it basically all year long last year with Will Warren. He made 33 starts, but only threw 162 2/3. He's a good pitcher. He's got good stuff. Interesting strikeout upside. 24.1% strikeout rate, 28.6% swinging, 9.5% swinging strike rate, 28.6 CSW last year. 4.44 ERA, but a 3.91 xFIP, 4.08 SIERA. Says he was a little bit better than that under the surface. Give up a lot of premium contact, though. We're over the threshold here, and here, which is challenging in Yankee Stadium for half your starts. Fortunately for him, he's going up against a Marlins team that not exactly overloaded with power bats. So he gains a little bit from that and hopefully just has a good day. At 77, at 79, I do think you can play him, but he comes with a word of warning that we're probably closer to the ceiling numbers in these projections than we are to the average start. Marlins bats a very low 3.23 implied total. Yankee Stadium does work in their favor as well here, though. And again, the contact that Warren allows is at least concerning there. He got a little lucky to beat it, just a 3.09% home run rate last year. If you're looking at Marlins bats, Jacob Marcy, 6.02, one of your home run leaders, 234 plate appearances last year, hit 5 homers, stole 14 bases. A very strong slash line, 347 xWOBA under the 363 WOBA. Says he overperformed a little bit, but that's still an above average mark. 133 WRC plus, one of the better options there, and a lefty bat to get things started. Xavier Edwards, hit tool oriented player, a lot of speed. If he's getting on base, he can wreak havoc out there. He's very low strikeout, medium walk rate, so a lot of balls in play. Not particularly well struck, more of a contact hitter. Just put the ball in play, try and beat it to first base, and then make things happen. Agustin Ramirez, a lot of power there. One of your more dangerous hitters, 9.50, leads this team in the home run model today. $4,200 for the catcher. That's not a bad catcher one-off that probably gets left on the table more often than it should on DraftKings. So if you're building, you want to get a little piece of the other side against the Yankees stack, you grab him, throw him into the catcher spot, grab a few Yankees out of this game, mini game stack it, just to have a little piece of the other side, and grab some of that premium contact upside. 11% barrel, 47% hard hit for the kid last year. Hit 21 home runs and 585 rookie plate appearances as catcher. It's tremendous upside for that position. 332 xWOBA too, says he underperformed a little bit. Liam Hicks for 32.29 gives you another catcher option in this lineup, a little bit cheaper as well. Lower end option, though he's off to a pretty good start if memory serves. Yeah, I'll say 3 home runs in 19 plate appearances, 467, 526, 1.33 slugging percentage, a 547 xWOBA. And if you believe those numbers are going to hold, let's talk about the bridge that I have for sale. Otto Lopez, Owen Casey, Connor Norby, Griff Conine, and Graham Pauley. It's a list of guys with a little bit of potential, a little bit of upside, little prospect pedigree, either starting to fade or just, arriving like Owen Casey. Connor Norby maybe starting to fade. Griff Conine starting to fade a little bit. Graham Pauley maybe starting to fade a little bit, although he did something interesting when we talked about him the other day, right? I thought Pauley hit a home run the other day. I would have maybe just had the one okay game that he had this season. I thought he hit a home run the other day. Griff Conine's got one on the board. Again, nothing about any of these numbers means anything. A couple Marlins off to okay starts, though. Who are these two? That's Otto and Casey. I do like Casey. I think he's got a little pop in that bat. Solid performances in the WBC to back it up. Decent prospect pedigree. 29-27, lefty bat in Yankee Stadium. You can always take the upside of that. So I probably want to grab Marcy out of the leadoff spot. Even with the lefty righty, actually no, I can take them both. I probably grab both of Ramirez and Hicks and just play Hicks at first base and just take the lefty and not the hot start or anything like that. But a fairly high contact rate hitter as well. So if he's driving the ball a little bit more this year, any given day in Yankee Stadium, a lefty gets the ball in the air and it could go out. So I think we would look there. And then I would want Owen Casey at 29. So where are we? So that's 37.75 for the 4-man there. And then, you can get really, really cheap. Drop Graham Pauley into third base and bring it down to 34.40. He wraps around okay. You could obviously get Edwards in there, get a little stolen base and run scoring upside plus the direct correlation there. I think maybe Otto's a little bit more interesting for 200 less, though, at short. And you go that route. 3,800 a piece on average. That's not an expensive 5-man. I think that is a slightly better cheapo upside stack than the Cardinals. I think there's more talent here. I think it's a better ballpark, better hitting environment, better target of a pitcher to go against, given the nature of contact that Will Warren allows. He's going to allow you to hit the ball in the air, unlike Fromber. It's kind of a key element in hitting home runs. So I think the Marlins are a slightly more interesting discount stack than the Cards are. Not that they're overly appealing at a 3.23 implied total. Don't take that the wrong way. But if we're just looking bargain bin, I think they're more interesting than the Cards. Yankees bats are a team you want to get to. Again, 4 guys above the magic number. Trent Grisham leading off. 34 homers last year. Tremendous on base skills, leading off ahead of Aaron Judge. Best spot in baseball. 64-44 for Judge. Not unfair. 53 homers last season. A 204 WRC plus. So again, it was 204. Significantly above even Shohei Ohtani. Cody Bellinger, Ben Rice, left-handed pop in both those bats. Ben Rice, more power upside, 26 homers last year to Cody Bellinger's 29. I like that to go in Ben Rice's favor this season. Just all those barrels, all those hard hits, and a discerning hitter up at the plate who's still growing. Just 18.9% strikeouts last year, 9.4% walks. I like that to get into double-digit walks and maybe shave some strikeout down this year. That is a very, very good young hitter. Cody's just always been good. Low strikeout, medium walk rate, gets on base, hits home runs. Doesn't particularly make great contact, but gets away with it. And Yankee Stadium definitely helps with that from the left side. Giancarlo Stanton, just one of the elite power bats in baseball. Enjoy him while he's healthy. Probably won't be all year, but right now off to a tremendous start and actually looks physically good out there, like running the bases and everything, which frightens me. 4,200, 3,500, still a little bit cheap, particularly on DraftKings. That is a very cheap price for Giancarlo. 35 is getting back to normal pricing. 24 home runs in just 281 plate appearances last season. Dude still mashes. Jazz Chisholm, 15% barrel last year, 31-31 season, 126 WRC plus. Looking to get the season started and get on his way to that 40-40, 50-50 season he was calling for himself. Austin Wells at 3,028, 21 homers last year. Okay catcher bat with a little pop. Maybe overrated in terms of his reliability. 219, 275, 436 last year, just a 302 WOBA and a 293 X WOBA. So we're really just looking for home run upside with Austin Wells, but it's a good lefty catcher bat for 3,000 where you need the position, 2,800 where you don't, 7.07 in the home run model today. Caballero, we're just looking to get on base, maybe wrap around back to the big boys up top, steal some bases, had 49 in just 370 plate appearances last year. Dude likes to get on base and run. And then Ryan McMahon, a cheap lefty bat from the bottom, 25-28. McMahon is going to hit his 18 to 20 home runs this year. So if you're stacking Yankees, that is a guy you always want to consider. He's had double-digit barrel rates each of the last 3 seasons, including a 12.1 and a 50.5% hard hit last year. He is better than these results say he is. Slightly above average xWOBA, significantly higher than his actual mark last season, and better numbers in years past. Do not sleep on Ryan McMahon when you're stacking Yankees. He helps average the price down, if nothing else. A lot of upside still. Yankees bats, Jody Perez, Will Warren, Marlins bats. Cap says he robbed me of my money in DFS and bets over the last 3 years. I used to believe in Nasty Nate. He's out here again shitting the bed 0-2, 12 ERA already this year. It's 2 starts. It's 2 starts. If you had Nathan Eovaldi last season, you were very happy with the 22 starts he gave you. Dude pitched to a 1.73 ERA last year, 3.03 xFIP, 2.80 FIP. Had a 26% strikeout against a 4.2% walk. That's a 21.8% strikeout minus walk rate. That was his best season in a couple seasons. But the 3 seasons prior to that, he hasn't had over a 3.87 ERA in the last 6 years. His last bad season was 2019 in Boston. As a 29-year-old, he had a 5.99 ERA, a 4.89 xFIP that year. 2 clunky seasons for the Yankees in age 25 and 26 in 2015 and 2016. So we're going back that far. Yeah, it was pretty ugly. His biggest problem over the years has been just a lack of health. Tends to take a bump and only make 22 starts, 25 starts, but the starts are usually pretty good. Come with a little bit of strikeout, ability to manage the walks. And really seems to have found something, particularly last year, obviously, But we're not even hunting for that 1-something ERA. Just that, that 3-something xFIP would be fine. Good pitcher. The overarching point is, or was to answer that question, that he was dropped by a overly reactionary owner in that league, and he absolutely should be claimed at an aggressive fab bid, I might add. That is a pitcher who does not belong on waivers. Yeah, Cap, I get it. Trust me, I get it. I expected big things back in those Yankee seasons a decade or so ago, and did not get them. So not my favorite pitcher, but a talented one who shouldn't be on waivers. Somebody else mentioned something I wanted to address. Kyle Tucker, so overrated. Anthony, I hope that was a joke. I assume it was. For one thing, when a smart organization like the Dodgers gives you $57 million a year for 4 years, you're probably pretty good. Kyle Tucker, over 3,100 plate appearances in 775 games, has a 137 WRC plus, a 374 xWOBA, 147 home runs, struck out just 15.9% of the time, 11.5% walk. You can see where this is going. 272, 357, 504 career slash line. Kyle Tucker's pretty good. Pretty good to top 5 left-handed bat in baseball. Full stop. Fernando Tatis, speaking of one of the top bats in baseball, 54-36, 25 homers, 32 steals last season, got on at a 368 clip, created runs 31% better than average. Still a superstar by any measure. Gets to take shots at Sonny Gray in Fenway Park today. Sonny, as we've discussed a little bit through the show, very good the last couple of seasons. Good, not great starter who can have great days that you can reliably go to most of the time. Against a relatively low strikeout, somewhat dangerous Padres team in a good hitting environment on a very deep pitching slate, you don't necessarily need to roster Sonny Gray here. 85 is a fair price. 91 is a fair price. He projects competitively with the field. There's nothing to say he wouldn't have a decent start, but a 4.37 implied total on the other side can definitely push you away from this pitcher. I would rank him below several of the starters up toward the top of the board as we did when we were breaking it down. But again, 26.7% strikeout rate with a 12.1% swinging strike rate last year's tremendous. 4.28 ERA got a little bit bumpy, but you can see the quality right here. This is who Sonny Gray really was. 307 xFIP, 329 Sierra, the full run higher in the ERA. Year before, 282 xFIP underneath a 384 ERA, 279 ERA with a 365 xFIP the year before that. That year he actually paid off the talent, but he's always working in that 3 range. He is a very effective starter. Just maybe prone to giving up a little bit of premium contact and power. 9.8% barrel, 40.5% hard hit, 88.9 miles an hour of exit velo last year, 3.32% home run rate. You can see Stuff Plus doesn't love the full arsenal, but he's a more location and pitching plus oriented starter. Wipeout slider still. Michael King on the other side. Another pitcher comes in with slightly below average stuff, but a couple above average pitches and a locator and pitching plus darling. 24.7% strikeout rate, 8.4% walk. Similar starter last season to what Sonny Gray gave us. 15 starts, 73 and a third for King last year. A lot of fly ball last year, a lot of home run last year. That was not necessarily an issue for him in years past. He was very good at limiting hard hit and exit velo, inducing weak and medium contact. That slipped somewhat in this partial season last year. I like him to reclaim some of that, and it's having an impact somewhat in the Red Sox home run numbers. They're coming in at a 4.75 implied total, which is one of the juiciest marks on the slate. They've got a lot of talent in this lineup, but they are getting a little bit impacted by King's previous numbers for allowing power, allowing home run upside. Kind of stuck in the middle with him as far as what the truth is actually going to ultimately look like as a full-time starter. Some of the numbers from way back in the past, is getting less and less relevant at this point. If you're going to Padres bats against Sonny Gray, I think it's both these teams about even up, I would say, in terms of desirability, and the Red Sox total pushes them up the board a little bit. But the Pods very usable here. Tatis at 54-36, again, solid season last year. We're still looking for him to reclaim some of the power. Barrels slipped significantly year over year. Hard hits came down a little bit. Strikeouts came down, though, and walks went up. So there was some good in with the slip. Xander Bogaerts, just an average player these days, 104 WRC+, plus, did steal 20 bags last year. Good spot in the lineup, hitting second, and he's very cheap at shortstop. Second base eligibility to boot on FanDuel. Jackson Merrill at 45-32 hit 16 homers in a down season in his return from injury last year. Like him to bounce back as well. Has still had a 13% barrel that was actually up year over year from the good season the year before. Manny Machado, star caliber player, 27 home runs, 14 stolen bases in a very strong season last year. 39-33 for Ramon Laureano is pretty fair. That DraftKings price anyway, very cheap. He hit 24 home runs, maybe the season of his life last year, but a decent player for the 18 home run type upside. Didn't really run last year as much as he used to, only 7 stolen bases. Maybe we get a few of those back this season, but not an inoffensively priced mid-lineup type bat. Miguel Andujar, more of a hit tool-oriented player, did hit 10 surprising home runs in 341 chances last year. Look for him to hit for average, maybe get on base, but probably not at the 318, 352 clip he did last year, 125 WRC+, but a really concerning 298 xWOB underneath that glowing 354 mark. So probably a little overperformance there from good old Andujar last year. Gavin Sheets, a little bit of pop from the left side, 19 homers last season, 340 xWOBA under a 323 actual as well. So a lot more to give given that premium contact, the low strikeout rate, the frequency of contact. For a cheap bat, 24 on FanDuel, 33 on DraftKings. Plenty of upside there against a medium caliber righty in Fenway Park. Cronenworth gets on base like crazy. I like him better from the top of the lineup than the bottom of the lineup, but from down here, you can use him as a wraparound. He'll be lower owned. He's very inexpensive. Second base is where you want him, not first base on FanDuel. Campusano, dead min price, over 27 last year. I find that hilarious. Roman Anthony up top, 5,300, 3,700, 8 home runs, a fantastic debut, half a season in 303 plate appearances, 140 WRC+, just arrived as a fully developed primo lefty bat, 15.5% barrel, 60% hard hit last season. Kind of a start as you have to. 1 home run on the board. Again, none of these numbers from this year matter. Nice to see the home run on the board already. Otherwise, not much to talk about as far as these Red Sox so far this year, except for our guy, Willier. 3 home runs already. Just crushing out of the gate. Love that bat. Mostly platoon plate appearances against righties. Anytime Willier's in the lineup, you can definitely use him. Love the upside for him against Michael King, 48-32. He's getting priced up a little bit. 6.56 to lead this team in the home run model from the 5 spot. In between Anthony and Willier, you get Trevor Story, who had a great season last year, 25 homers, 31 steals. 111 WRC plus. 101 WRC plus. As mentioned previously, just needs to reclaim some of those walks. This season and that season look a lot alike. If you can get back anywhere near that double-digit mark, that pushes those numbers up dramatically. But for Story, the key thing is just plate appearances. Jarren Duran, solidly mid-type player, 16 homers, 24 steals last season. Good run creator, 111 WRC+. It's about who he is. He hits the ball squarely, 9.5% barrel, 46.8% hard hit last year. 51 feels a little pricey, 34 on FanDuel, a little pricey. But these guys are, I don't want to say inexpensive, but fairly priced for this environment and one of the highest totals on the slate. Caleb Durbin at 3,000, 2,400. So far, I believe I am winning the argument about whether or not we should have taken him. Oh boy, yeah, am I. Caleb Durbin, 0 for 19 to start the season. Ouch. That's not going to get you done. It's going to be better than that in the long term, but we're talking about a slap hitter. We're not talking about a guy who's going to improve on those 11 home runs. We're not talking about a guy who's likely to improve on that 105 WRC+. I think this was a misguided acquisition by the Red Sox if they were expecting a breakout player, but I've been wrong before. 25-27 is cheap for Marcelo Mayer. A little bit of talent, lefty bat there. Carlos Narvaez, Ceddanne Rafaela. Narvaez, mix and match quality catcher. Did hit 15 home runs last season and 16 home runs on the board with 20 stolen bases out of Ceddanne Rafaela, who is always good for counting stats, but also typically tends to underperform when we get to WRC plus and full season numbers. Any given slate, though, you get good counting stat potential out of Rafaela from the bottom of the lineup. Red Sox bats. Padres bats, Sonny Gray, Michael King. All 4 corners are in play. I think we would much prefer to get the bats than either of these talented right-handed pitchers. I almost said young about Sonny Gray. Toronto lineup still not in. Oh, Connor Griffin taking questions live at PNC Park ahead of his debut. Blue Jays, Chi Sox, Dylan Cease. The story of the day on the mound, in my opinion, 10-2 on FanDuel, well worth it. 9,900 on DraftKings, well worth it. You can see the projections, nearly a 40-point projection. FanDuel, 20-plus on DraftKings. 29.8% strikeout last season, and look for him to improve on the strikeout numbers this year. Just absolutely cutting through hitters. Love his upside against the White Sox team that has plenty of strikeout available through the back half of this lineup. Light strikeout rate on Chase Meadroth in the leadoff spot. Kid's got a good hit tool. Discerning hitter up at the plate, but it's not something I worry about against a pitcher like Dylan Cease. Cease does tend to put too many guys on base via the walk, but this team does not have a ton of walk artists, for lack of a better term, on it. So I'm not really worried about it. Maybe some of these young hitters work a walk against him and put him in a little bit of danger, but I really like Cease to cut through this lineup big time today. So fire away with those shares. If you're going to the White Sox bats, Meadroth is a priority, and he's inexpensive at $38,300. Munetaka Murakami at $43,338 got off to a killer start to his MLB career. We've already talked about him and all the numbers he put up in Japan. 3 home runs on the board already, just absolutely mashing right out of the gate. Kid is really good and going to be good through the season, at the very least for power. But I like him to hit a little bit. I like him to draw some walks and get on base. We'll see what the strikeouts look like. Miguel Vargas, 34-32, mix and match quality player, ultimately 16 home runs, a 101 WRC plus last year. Colson Montgomery, potential star for this team. 21 homers last season, a 129 WRC plus in 284 plate appearances. Made great contact at a 14.4% barrel. A lot of strikeouts. Could be problematic against a pitcher like Cease. 8.8% walk. Needs to push that up in the long term. But the power, the premium contact, the upside, very, very real. 4,000, 3,100. Definitely a player that you want to get to if you're going to this team. Lefty bat as well. Austin Hayes, mix and match quality, 15 homers last year. He's about a 15, 18 home run type guy. Never going to get on base overly reliably, but should be a positive run creator for this team. 105 WRC plus is about where you'll find him. Andrew Benintendi, 27-25. Lefty bat, did hit 20 home runs and a bit of a surprise last year. 103 WRC plus, exactly league average, 320 xWOBA. Meh. At least you get a lefty. Doesn't really strike out. I'll give him that much. That is a more problematic hitter for Dylan Cease. So from that regard, if you want to get a guy who's just likely to put one ball in play against Cease, Benintendi's at least on the list. Justin Peters is apparently on this team now. A dozen empty plate appearances last year. Was not prepared to talk at length about Justin Peters. 15 home runs in 555 as a 25-year-old across AAA last year. A dozen home runs in similar sample the year before in AAA for Tampa's system. I knew that name from somewhere. At best, a mix and match guy. Probably going to be just a strikeout target for Dylan Cease for today. Edgar Quero and Luis Angel Acuna, mix and match upside from the bottom. Acuna's got a little speed, needs to get on base to be able to use it. Probably just going to be a strikeout target, though he doesn't tend to strike out all that much in his brief major league sample. Edgar Quero also doesn't really strike out. Discerning hitter of a catcher. Just 5 home runs last year, 3.7% barrel, but did square the ball up pretty effectively. 46.3% hard hit rates, not nothing. So maybe as just a cheap dart throw of a catcher, you can mix in some shares, but I don't love that from the 8 spot against such a good pitcher. On the Blue Jays side, they're going up against the combination of Grant Taylor and Sean Burke. Taylor's probably going to be good for 1 inning, maybe 4 hitters, maybe 5 hitters. Taylor last season in 36 2/3, including 2 starts, 34.4% strikeout rate, 13.4% swinging, 2.34 xFIP under that ugly 4.91 ERA in that relief work in 2 starts. This is a primo upside starter or a pitcher who's going to be working about 100 innings in a hybrid role between long relief, couple spot starts, couple opening appearances like this, but you're not going to use him for DFS today. What the one concern, as I mentioned in the windup, is maybe he takes the top off of those 3 for 1 turn through the lineup. That's your real primary concern with rostering Blue Jays today. Otherwise, they look tremendous. 4.51 implied total, and the innings they get against Sean Burke will be more than enough for them to deliver. Burke, below average stuff. Nearly a 4% home run rate last year. Just a 22.3% strikeout against a 10.6% walk. Not going to get you done. 11.7 strikeout minus walk. 4.29 ERA, a 4.70 xFIP, 4.47 Sierra. So he actually got a little bit fortunate to be at a 4.29 ERA. He's worse than his numbers were last year. Fire away with Blue Jays bats. Springer from the top, 55-38. Tremendous year last year. What's the start looking like for old George? Is it old George or is it old George? So far this year, it's old George. 2 home runs at least, but 154, 241, 423 start, 92 WRC plus out of the gate in a meaningless sample. Jesus Sanchez, we've talked about a few times. Assuming he's hitting second again, I absolutely adore that spot in the lineup for him. 3,402 is a fantastic price on DraftKings. Low strikeout rate last season, 22.1%, down from 26 each of the last 2 years. Maintained his premium contact rates, 11.1% barrel. Did slip a little bit for hard hit in the 497 plate appearances last year. Disappointing overall output. 237, 304, 395 is not getting it done. 323 xWOBA is much better than the 304 actual, but still disappointing. Kid is a big dude, ton of power, has always driven the ball effectively and found just kind of mixed results for it. But he's still a growing, improving hitter. Fantastic landing spot for him coming out from his former team. Just a 93 WRC plus. That's going to be above average this year. We're going over 20 home runs this year. That is a really interesting lefty bat at 34-32 against when he gets Sean Burke. Might have a problem with Grant Taylor to begin. Vladdy, superstar. 6,000 on DraftKings is fine. 3,600 on FanDuel, a little bit cheaper than the DK price. Grab that. 12.24 in the home run model in the against Burke version. 23 home runs on the board last year for him. A 384 xWOB under the surface, 137 WRC plus. Just tremendous upside. Addison Barger off to a bad start. Has been benched a couple times already this week. Assuming he's back in the lineup today against the weak righties, 37-26 is very, very cheap. He hit 21 home runs last year. Excellent premium contact numbers. Struck out 24% rate, 7.2% walk, just kind of average. Not going to hit for a ton of average, but I like him to get on base a little bit better than 301 this year. Had a 331 xWOB under the covers, 107 WRC plus in a mini breakout season. I think he'll come around. Alejandro Kirk, 39-29, good season last year. Solid stick as a catcher, hit 15 home runs, good average, good on base, 9.5% barrel, 50.8% hard hit. These Blue Jays get just payoff premium contact up and down this lineup. Dalton Varsho was a part of that last year. 20 home runs and just 271 plate appearances from the left side. Premium outfield bat, 4,500, 3,000. Going to be erratic. A lot of strikeouts, not a lot of walks. If he's not hitting you home runs, he's probably giving you a 0, but he had a 123 WRC plus overall in spite of a 284 on base in that partial season last year. Kaz Okamoto's off to a good start for his MLB career. Solid NPB player, 4,500, 3,300. Not a bad option at third base, 8.73 in the home run model today. Ernie Clement, role player extraordinaire. Good year last year, 277, 313, 398, just a 98 WRC plus, and a concerning 292 xWOBA under a 308 actual that is also below average. So not a great upside bat, but puts a ton of balls in play, 10.4% strikeout, 4.6% walk last season, and you're just looking to fill a basically any position on FanDuel. Second base, third base for 3,500 on DraftKings is not a bad option. Andres Jimenez, more mix and matchy type player. Dylan Cease, way up top. Blue Jays bats, White Sox bats, Sean Burke, Grant Taylor, unfortunately not going to pitch enough today. Rangers lineup is in, Reds lineup is not. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel out there. Check out rotoscouts.com. Everything is under $1 a day. Who's on it? Texas. Get you access to all the baseball content, projections for pitchers, for hitters, home run picks, top stacks, full snapshots of these dashboards so you can go through these stats on your own and not have to listen to me ramble my way through it every single day. Tons of other content, as well as NBA DFS projections, NHL DFS projections for every single main slate that you run into throughout the season. A lot of bang for your buck for under $1 a day. Weekly, monthly, and quarterly plans available. So for under $7, you can get through to next Friday for 3 sports. Not bad. Check it out, rotoscouts.com, gang. One more time, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Super chats are available if you feel like it as well. Cap, I don't know anything about it. Cap says, I tend to try and stay above the fray with shit like this. I just don't pay attention. I don't know who most of the people in the industry are as far as touts and what sites they work at. I never have followed nor gotten involved in the various beefs and push-up bets and so on and so forth. I just don't care. I just don't have time. But would you give the quick 60-second opinion on the tout from RPS who ditched out on a $500,000 bet? Sounds like a scumbag. Left RPS, scrubbed his internet persona, Matthew Wiley. Yeah, again, don't know anything about him, but anybody who ditches out on a $500,000 bet obviously was probably full of shit when he made the bet and seems like a scumbag. If you ditch out on a dollar bet, you're probably a scumbag. Pay your bets, guys. Pay your debts. Pay your bets. It's not that hard. If you don't have the money, if you don't have the wherewithal, don't make the bet. Don't write checks your butt can't cash, as they would have said in Top Gun, which Maverick was just on before as I was doing projections. 357 implied total for the Reds, 455 for the Texas Rangers, their first game, I believe, in at home this season. Mackenzie Gore on the bump, 8,800, 9,500, not unfairly priced, 27.2% strikeout last season, 4.17 ERA, but a sharp 3.78 xFIP, 3.80 SIERA, better than the ERA mark. Had some tremendous starts last year and aligned pretty well to find some Ks against this 25.2% last year strikeout rate that the Reds put up. So not a bad spot for him. Some free swingers in this lineup. A couple dangerous bats, of course, like Ellie, like Sal Stewart, like Eugenio Suarez. But clear path for Mackenzie Gore to maybe have a underappreciated start for only 8,800. 95 on FanDuel is probably the correct price. So a little bit of a discount on DraftKings maybe. On the other side, Singer for 76 for 86. A fairly priced option, but with the Rangers pulling a 4.55 total, this is a lineup that I think we can target throughout the season, given their just ongoing underperformance as a collective. But I think the slate's deep enough that we don't necessarily need to mess with Singer, at least at 86 on FanDuel. 76 on DraftKings puts him more on the board, given the SP2 shares. I think that's a reasonable option. He only went 4 in the debut, 5 strikeouts, 2 walks, gave up 3 earned on 5 hits, 1 home run, faced 20 hitters ultimately. I like him for 5, maybe into a 6th if all goes well. Don't know how much upside we have to complete the 6th inning and get the quality start. Another reason I don't love it on FanDuel. But as a $7,600, just piece at not crazy exposure as an SP2, it's workable. There are some Ks in this lineup, slightly above average strikeout rate for this group last year. 1 truly dangerous hitter and then a couple wild cards. So not the most fearsome lineup despite that 4.5 total. If you go to the Reds, 38-28 for TJ Friedl. 14 homers, 12 steals last year, a positive run creator, but just a 303 xWOBA under the 333 actual. Something to watch there. Overperformed throughout the season, but low strikeout, high walk last year. The walks were the big difference in the on-base percentage. You can see he spiked from 7.6 the year before up to 11.8%. If that holds, he'll probably repeat a similar type season. Not a crusher in terms of his premium contact, but 12 to 14 home runs, not out of question. Matt McClain had a tremendous spring, and I believe just kind of died on the vine after we left camp. Yeah, 27 plate appearances. I think he wishes he still had some of those spring plate appearances. Hit something like 7, 8 home runs during the spring. Set a Reds record, but it was weird. They were only keeping stats back to like 2002 or something like that for spring. Strange. Ellie De La Cruz is the talking point here, obviously. 57-38, 22 homers, 37 steals, counting stats galore out of Ellie. Tremendous 109 WRC plus last year, scored 100 runs. We don't care about runs and RBIs outside of the fact that they do score fantasy points. There's nothing predictive about them, though. But Ellie is their superstar. He's their go-to. 57 is not a bad price for him. Phil Shortstop with a star. Even if you're one-offing him, that's not a terrible option. Stewart, tons of right-handed pop there. 5 home runs in 58 plate appearances. Had a great run down the stretch for a few games and a cup of coffee last season with a 398 xWOBA and a lot of power on display through the minors. So far in the show this year, pair of home runs on the board. 474, 615, 947 start. Creating runs 207% better than average over 26 plate appearances. Again, meaningless, but nice to see the hot start for the kid that we're expecting a big breakout from. Eugenio, 49 home runs last year. Just a masher. Top flight masher. Loaded up with righties for the Reds here against the lefty, assuming this is the version of the lineup we get. Eugenio is the second top priority bat in this lineup behind Ellie. I would say Ellie, Eugenio, Sal in that order. 46, not a bad price. 31, not a bad price. 9.63 leads the team in the home run model. Spencer Steer, Tyler Stevenson, Noelvi Marte, and Ke'Bryan Hayes. Mix and match pieces all. Steer did hit 21 home runs last year, just a 97 WRC plus. Marte at a 101 WRC plus, your only positive run creator down there. Mid-teens type home run upside, few stolen bases. We'll see what it becomes in a full season if we get one. But already kind of checked down. Wow, the Rays bullpen takes another hit. Clevenger to the IL. Yikes. Between that, Uceda's IL start and Griffin Jacks being atrocious. That is not the bullpen the Rays thought they were getting this year. Ke'Bryan Hayes makes contact but never sees anything for it. Kind of move on. On the Rangers side, Nimmo, we've talked about a few times. The on-base is kind of evaporated, but the power is still very real. The premium contact, very real. Like him to hit for a little bit more, a better average, get on base a little bit more. And the plate appearances leading off atop this lineup, ahead of Langford, ahead of Seager, some power upside from Jake Berger. Good spot in the lineup for a decent run creator, 114 WRC plus. Definitely in play for DFS purposes. Langford's too cheap at 42.28. 22 homers, 22 steals, and 573 last year, and a lot of room to grow. 346 xWOBA last season, 118 WRC plus. Tremendous premium contact. Buy cheap against this starter. Corey Seager at 45-35, 21 homers last year, had a fantastic 400 xWOBA. Under a 365 WOBA, which is already very, very good. 138 WRC plus, elite contact, just one of the best shortstop bats in baseball. You're also getting him quite cheap at 45. 35 is more correct on FanDuel, but arguably a few $100 cheap. This is very cheap for Corey Seager. This combination, well, really that combination is very cheap. And I would say maybe you bolt Burger into it for a 3-man, or you can go even cheaper and just go power with Jock in there. As a 3-man, that's a $3,600, $3,700 average, rounding up. Wyatt Langford, Corey Seager, Jock Peterson, 3-man against a mediocre righty who gives up a fair amount of premium contact. Not a ton of home runs last year, but enough premium contact to justify the upside. That's not a bad option to build with. Jock, terrible year last year. Sub Mendoza, 285 on base, 9 home runs and 306 plate appearances. What happened to the Jock Peterson we know and love? 23 homers, 449 plate appearances the year before. Even had a killer slash line. We were looking for a big uptick from Jock last year based on this 275, 393, 515 that we got the year before, 151 WRC plus, mostly making plate appearances against righties. This is a great spot for Jock Peterson to mash. Has he done anything yet this year? Nope. 0 for 11 so far this year. 1 RBI. Meaningless. We need Jock Peterson from 2 years ago and from his entire rest of his career prior to that, too. Last year was an aberration. Josh Smith, Josh Young, Evan Carter, Danny Jansen, all playable pieces and parts. Smith has always been a little bit overrated, but medium quality home run power, medium quality stolen base upside, a 335 on base. That's his game. Just a 100 WRC plus, a 310 xWOBA. Don't expect too much from Josh Smith at second base. In middle infield, you can get away with it at those cheap prices, but he's just a cog in the machine from the left side. Josh Young actually has a little bit more upside than Smith does, in my opinion. Given the premium contact numbers. He had 14 home runs last year, but he's not the on-base player that Josh Smith is. Just a 91 WRC plus last season. A lot of room to grow there. Evan Carter came up as a top prospect, disappointed in 220 plate appearances last year, 162 below average plate appearances the year before, so a lot of work to do to redeem himself, but still a little shine from the pedigree and only 3,700, 2,700 in the outfield. Clickable piece. Danny Jansen, always a clickable catcher, 14 home runs, 103 WRC plus. Not a regular contributor, but an okay one for the price, especially where you need the position if you're already going to this team. Mackenzie Gore, Rangers bats, Reds bats, Brady Singer. Singer much more in play on DraftKings as an SP2, like I said. What's that, 4 games to go? 4 to go? 11:48. Okay, not quite on track, but doing all right. Bear with me half a second. I'm going to step across the other side of the room. Speak amongst yourselves. I'm going to just refill this coffee cup that I've just been kind of holding here. It will take me less than a minute. Okay, we're back. Same guy had a $2.5 million bet out there. This was on the presidential election. Jesus Christ. It just sounds like an idiot making bets he shouldn't have been making to me. But again, I don't know the guy. I don't know anything about him or the situation. So I'm just going by what I have been informed in chat right here. Rays 377 implied total. Twins 383. Again, this one has some weather concerns. It is cold and it is not great conditions with some precipitation involved in Minnesota today. So be aware of that. Little bit working against some of our power numbers here, but I went against it. Took our home run pick of the day coming out of this game. I told you at the top of the show, I went with a star player. We picked off a lighter one yesterday with Mark Vientos. We got that one right for the home run pick of the day. So 3 for 9, I think, out of the gate. But today we're going with a slightly more obvious guy. He's staring at us from the middle of that Rays lineup with a 16.86, not the highest mark in the home run model today, but one of the highest. Mr. Junior Caminero. That's your home run pick of the day going up against Bailey Ober. Ober gave up a 4.81% home run rate last season, 10.9% barrels, 39.1% hard hit, 89.6 miles an hour of exit velo. Below average stuff, sub 20% strikeout rate last season. It just kind of fell apart for Bailey Ober last year. He's better than this or has been through his career. But last year was a total disaster. 5.10 ERA, that's only slightly improved when you look at the 4.75 xFIP, 4.51 Sierra. First start of the season, 1 strikeout, 1 walk, gave up a homer, 3 earned runs on 4 hits, faced 17 hitters, was out after 4 innings against the Orioles. Do not like the upside for Bailey Ober outside of the fact pitching at home. These ugly conditions favor pitching, certainly. But this is a good enough Rays lineup to get to a pitcher like this. They have a lot of premium contact available. They have some discerning hitters that could give him some problems. It's not a major strikeout spot, and he's not a major strikeout pitcher. So I don't like the Ober spot. 67, maybe you throw the dart as an SP2. 73 on FanDuel, I'm not seeing it. Rays bats against, I'm kind of into. Joe Boyle for 7,000 for 7,900. That's an interesting spot. He walked the world last year in his 52 innings, his 9 starts. 25.7% strikeout rate with it, though. 4.67 ERA, but a 4.38 xFIP is a slight improvement. 4.25 Sierra, definitely an improvement. What I loved in the first start, 6 innings. That was against those young Cardinals. But he went 6, faced 21 hitters, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 4 strikeouts, no walk. No walk is crucial there. Again, that's not exactly the most disciplined bunch of young hitters, but it's nice to see Boyle get through 6, and it's nice to see him do it without walking anybody. Against this Twins team, a little bit more impactful in terms of the hard hits, the barrels. Guys like Byron Buxton, Matt Wallner, obviously problems. Cody Clemens, a lot of barrels there, depending on what the Twins end up rolling out here. But I like Boyle's talent. I think his strikeout upside is very, very real. We do have the Twins lineup, actually. So I think given the prices they're asking for him, if I can count on 6 innings, if all goes to plan, I really like the upside for Joe Boyle at these prices. He's one of the better discount options on the day on the mound. Yandy Diaz from the top of the Rays, a crucial bat in their lineup. 25 homers last year, elite plate discipline, gets on base like crazy, 366 on base. Just one of the most one of the most underrated players in baseball. Love Yandy. Jonathan Aranda made primo contact last season, 12.8% barrel, 54.1% hard hit. Drew a 9.7% walk. Strikeouts went up a little bit in a mostly full season, 422 plate appearances. Only delivered 14 home runs. Given that contact, I like that number to go way, way up. 382 xWOB under his 381 WOBA says it was all entirely real. He got on at a 393 clip last season while hitting 316. Created runs 46% better than average. Another player just wildly underrated. First base, third base for Yandy eliminates any concern about them doubling up position-wise, but you do run into a challenge. You cannot have Yandy, Aranda, and Junior all in a lineup on DraftKings, which sucks because those are their 3 best bats. That's really unfortunate. FanDuel, you can do it because you can go first base, you till third base. That's unfortunate. Jake Fraley caught in between those guys at 26-24. Mix and match piece. If he's getting on base, we could see a little bit of performance out of Fraley. Lefty bat, no real power to speak of. Hit 6 home runs last season. Has had, I believe, gotten into the low teens in the past. Yeah, 15 home runs in 2023 and 380 plate appearances. So a little bit of pop there, but it doesn't really come from reliable barrels or hard hits. It does have a little bit of speed. So a decent upside run creator there for a very cheap price to just build into the middle of the stack. Junior's 58, 38 across sites, 45 home runs from the kid last year. Just a ridiculous, one of the better seasons you'll ever see from such a young player. Ridiculous talent. Seth Mullins, 27, 24 is cheap for a guy who's gone 30, 30 in the past and went 17, 22 just last year. That said, that was an overperformance overall. We're probably coming back down the other side of the mountain overall with said, but he's gotten very cheap, and there is still counting stat upside there, if nothing else, any given slate upside. 2,824 for Nick Fortes, mix and match catcher. Ben Williamson, Chandler Simpson, Carson Williams. You want Simpson from down there for the hit tool, for the speed. 44 stolen bases and 441 while hitting 295 last year. He gets on a little bit more than that. We're going over 60 stolen bases. 41 is an okay price. 28 downright cheap. Kind of like the idea of like a wraparound from him back up to 1, 2, 3 like that, and average it down by using Simpson there. That can bring me down to a 3,325, so $3,400 average price for Junior Diaz and Aranda on FanDuel. The inability to do that on DraftKings really runs you into some challenges. This is a less desirable stack on the DraftKings slate for that inability to put those 3 players in together. On the Twins side, going up against Boyle, there's definitely a little bit of upside available to attack Boyle here. unproven so far, outside of the ability to miss bats. 10.2% barrel allowed last year's over our threshold. So is 46% hard hit. So is 91.1 miles an hour of exit velo. Very lucky to be at 2.65% home runs in that small sample. So little power upside for the Twins, who do reliably put good wood on the ball. Clemens, 12% barrel. Buxton, 17.6 in a tremendous season. 35 homers, 24 stolen bases for Buxton last year. Clemens only hit 19 in 386 plate appearances, or hit 19 in 386 plate appearances, but only had a 213, 281 front end of his slash line. 331 xWOBA in spite of that ugly on base is kind of encouraging, though, under the 307 actual. So room to grow for Cody Clemens, and he's very cheap for the power upside from the left side. Buxton's a superstar whenever he's healthy. 542 plate appearances was the most he's had in a decade. Luke Keeschel, good young player, 302, 382, 445 last year. Created runs 34% better than average in a third of a season. Matt Wallner, premium contact galore, also a ton of strikeouts. If he's drawing walks at a double-digit rate, though, that's an intriguing player. 202, 311, 464. Needs to improve around the edges. 334 WOBA, 327 xWOBA last year, but did create runs 14% better than average. Did hit 22 homers in just 392 plate appearances. Major thumper in the middle of the lineup from the left side. Josh Bell, underrated last year for contact. 12% barrel, 47% hard hit. Resulted in 22 home runs. Underwhelming slash line overall, but a 107 WRC plus and a very intriguing 359 xWOBA hiding under that 324 actual. The actual is a lot closer to average. The 359 is closer to star caliber. Once upon a time, Josh Bell was supposed to be something. He's only been okay throughout his career. Low strikeout, medium walk rate guy, though. Ryan Jeffers, Trevor Larnach, Royce Lewis, Tristan Gray. There's some talent down there. Jeffers, Larnach, and Lewis, any one of those guys can be in any configuration of your lineups. Got a little bit of power, a little ability to hit for average, get on base, create runs. All three guys positive run creators, 107, 113, 102 WRC plus marks for those three last year. 40+% hard hit rates for those three guys last year. So those are playable pieces, and they're all affordable. Jeffers fills your catcher spot with a reasonable option, hitting sixth in a somewhat key position for this team. Hit 9 home runs last year. You got 17 out of Trevor Larnach from the left side, another thumper. 45.6% hard hit. His barrels were down, double-digit barrels each of the last 2 years, just 7.2% last year. Little dip there, but you like him to reclaim some of that. Lewis never got back to the levels we saw. Is that even on? Yeah, never got back to being this guy. 239 utterly elite plate appearances back in 2023. Has just been injured and absent and just never able to get consistent plate appearances under his belt. But last year, 403, hit 13 homers, 12 stolen bases, just an 85 WRC plus. Gray, just an 89 WRC plus last season. Did have a 349 xWOBA in his 86 plate appearances. Maybe a little something. 13.1% barrel rate. Not bad. Rays bats. Twins bats. Joe Boyle for cheap. Bailey Ober bringing up the rear. Probably shouldn't say up the rear too often on the internet. Phillies. 591 total because we're in Coors Field. First time this season. 424 implied for the Rockies on the other side. The always under-owned when they're at home Rockies. Something to be aware of throughout the season. Everybody flocks to the always higher total visiting team, which is the right move. You get more guaranteed plate appearances that way. You're almost always getting a better team that way, so on and so forth, going against Rockies pitching. But Coors Field does work wonders for the Rockies bats as well. There are compelling reasons to go there. Aaron Nola on the mound. We're coming back down the other side of the mountain with Nola, but an okay 17 starts last year. Probably the rumors of his demise a little bit exaggerated, given that 6.01 ERA. 3.72 xFIP, 3.81 Sierra. Tell me he's still got it a little bit. 24% strikeout rate, 6.9% walk rate. Not bad. There's a lot still to like in these numbers for Aaron Nola, despite this atrociously bad ERA. Most of that is out of his control. These are the numbers that reflect what he actually controls. Once the ball leaves his hand, he can't really do anything about it. So given the strikeout rate being okay, above average, still pretty low walk rate, good swinging strike rate, good CSW, stuff plus still grades out well. We lose a few of these home runs, which is mostly incidental given the premium contact that he allows. A little bit of bad luck throughout the season. I like Nola to have a bounce back year. What I don't like is Coors Field. So we're not taking Aaron Nola at 86. We're not taking Aaron Nola at 84. Coors Field having a major impact on his potential, but he does get to pitch against the free swinging Rockies. Wouldn't shock me if he had one of those 8 strikeout but gave up 4 runs kind of a days, scored a little bit more than he's projected for, but still wasn't desirable at those prices. He should be 1,000 cheaper on both sites for a Coors Field game, even though when we're in different stadiums, we will be using Aaron Nola this year. Michael Lorenzen is a hard pass, any format. Even if you have a 2-pitcher slate somehow with all these teams available, use the other guy. I don't care who it is. This is not going to work out well for Michael Lorenzen. Phillies bats fire away. They're going to be crazy popular. Trey Turner's a star, 304, 355, 457 last year. Creator runs 25% better than average. One thing to call out about Turner, since we haven't talked Phillies too much yet this season, 352 weighted on base, but a 321 is a lot more pedestrian. That's right about average. So something to watch there throughout the season with Turner. A little bit of a reflection and a dip in his barrel rate 2 years in a row, year over year, but limits strikeouts, puts the ball in play like crazy. That is a very good player, and I don't expect the decline to arrive this season. Kyle Schwarber, just a masher, 56 home runs, gets on base like crazy, 365 on base, had a 402 xWOBA under a 391 WOBA last season, 152 WRC plus, just one of the best hitters in baseball, full stop. Bryce Harper, 12% barrel, 47.5% hard hits, 27 homers, a dozen stolen bases last year, 131 WRC plus, shining 360s weighted on base numbers in both categories. Alec Boehm's a hitter we like a lot around here. I've described him in seasons past and this season so far as a right-handed Vinny Pasquantino. Has not delivered much for us yet. Ugly start to the season, but you can see the quality in already. 335 xWOBA under that ugly 252 WOBA. Again, 26 plate appearances mean nothing. He does have a home run on the board at least. But we like Boehm quite a bit. Hits the ball very hard, 46.4% hard hit last year, 45 the year before that. Just doesn't typically deliver a huge home run total. Has hit 20 home runs in the past. I like him to get back to that kind of a level if he can find a little bit more launch angle this year, find a few more barrels along the way this year. Remains to be seen. Regardless, a rock-solid piece in the cleanup spot for 43. For 37 on FanDuel, it's a little expensive, honestly, but it's Coors Field. At 43, that's really cheap for a guy who can take advantage of, even if he's not hitting the ball out of the park. Coors Field is gigantic. So when you get a line drive-oriented hitter, a doubles hitter in Coors Field, it works wonders for their upside. Tremendous spot for Alec Boehm at 4,300. That is one of your top priority pieces of the day. Bryson Stott at 37 on DraftKings, 37 on FanDuel. Awfully expensive on the FanDuel slate. Very affordable on DraftKings. I think DraftKings kind of forgot to price up Coors Field today because Adolis Garcia is only 34. Yeah, he hit 19 home runs last season in a big disappointment, but he's out of the gate okay this season, has major power upside, going to be playing every single day this year and a lot happier in Philly and a better lineup. I love Adolis to come roaring back to life for more than 30 home runs in the long run, maybe even 15 plus stolen bases this year. That is going to be a good player in Coors Field. Whew, love it. 8.59 in your home run model. 35 on FanDuel, very playable, but significantly more expensive than 34 on DraftKings. Brendan Marsh, good on base skills. Excellent hard hit rates, excellent barrel rates over the last, or very good barrel rates over the last couple seasons. 283, 42, 443 last year. Everything I said about Alec Boehm, except for the right-handed part, applies to Brandon Marsh. Solid lefty for 3,200 is dumb. 3,200 on FanDuel as well. Fairly priced FanDuel, super cheap on DraftKings. Real Muto, mix and match quality catcher these days. Dozen home runs last year, just a 94 WRC plus. 3,500 on DraftKings is fair, affordable, but you're going to price Real Muto more than Adolis, more than Brandon Marsh. Doesn't really make sense, but whatever. You need the position over there. That's a reasonable option. And then Justin Crawford, their hotshot rookie, is crazy cheap at 2,700. He's 31 on FanDuel. What has he done in his first handful of plate appearances? He's only slashing 412, 444, 471 over his first 18 major league plate appearances. That's pretty good. That's stupid cheap. DraftKings completely forgot to price up Coors Field. None of these prices climbed. These are where they would be priced if this game was in Philly today. Okay, on the Rocky side. Caps with me on Adolis. I love it. The Cuban Missile. Yeah, man. I said it again, this WBC. I always root for Cuba. For those that don't know, my mom's from Cuba. So that's always my team in the WBC. And it's so challenging for them. Cuba's been elite in international baseball for decades, despite all the crazy political bullshit. And you see these Cuban players come to the States and turn into stars. Some of them get very erratic, the Yasiel Puigs, the Luis Roberts of the world. But it's just such a shame for that WBC team that guys like Adolis Guys like Lubab, guys like Randy Rosarena don't play for the team. They're loaded up with kids that play back home on the island, and they do so well every year. They had a super competitive year this year, and fell short of getting out of group, unfortunately, but very competitive for the level of team that they bring against major league talents. It's really impressive every year. Fun squad to watch, but it's just a shame. If they would rival the Dominicans and the Puerto Ricans if they could bring everybody to bear. It's a really unfortunate situation. Hopefully it changes one day. That's the least of Cuba's problems right now, though, unfortunately. Criminal what's being done to that island. Anyway, Jake McCarthy, 2,900 on a Coors Field day. Going up against this version of Aaron Nola, there's plenty of upside there. McCarthy, down season last year in 222 plate appearances. Season before was a much better 110 WRC plus /285, 349, 400, 8 home runs, 25 stolen bases. Not a monster power bat, but a guy who can definitely benefit from Coors Field if he's just kind of reoriented. Low strikeout, medium walk, put the ball in play. Hunter Goodman, their best power bat right now, 11.03 in your home run model, 31 long balls last season, off to a decent start this year. Willie Castro, good moving part, 4 position eligible on FanDuel for a fair price, 2,900 second base eligible on DraftKings. Yes, please. I believe Castro's also off to a decent start. Yeah, 296, 481. He's gotten on a few times anyway, or a couple base hits along the way. Ezequiel Tovar, down season last year, despite improving the strikeout rate, despite cutting some whiff out of his game. If he can continue to do that, I like the power to return. A little bit of home run upside, maybe some stolen bases along the way. Just needs to recover from last year's terrible 390 plate appearances. TJ Rumfield, a little bit of lefty pop. Off to a solid start with a home run on the board. Very solid slash line over a whopping 23 plate appearances. Jordan Beck, not a great start this year, but a 2020 type of pedigree. And again, Coors Field helps. 3,000, very, very cheap. 3,500 priced up on FanDuel. FanDuel got to the Rockies as well. They're priced up, not as high as the Phillies, deservedly. But DraftKings did the same thing with the Rocks. They are not, their prices didn't move for going into Coors. Troy Johnston, another player with a little bit of lefty power, 9.3% barrel last year, has a home run on the board and a good start for 16 plate appearances this year. Brenton Doyle, not off to a great start, over 22 plate appearances, had a bad year last year. 2 years ago, though, was an effective player, 23 home runs, 30 stolen bases, just a 97 WRC plus that season, but an effective enough slash line and obviously great for counting stats that year. So we can get back to that kind of level, and his premium contact from last season tells me that we can. I like the upside. He's a fantastic defensive outfielder. He's going to be out there every day regardless. 32-33 is a very fair price. Kyle Carroll's mix and match piece, but it's Coors Field. Once again, I love the idea of going to the Rockies because they are always under-owned compared to their opponent in Coors Field. So if you're determined to go to this ballpark today, look at the Rockies. The Phillies are the class of the day in terms of the most likely stack to go completely off. But they're going to be crazy popular and they're stupid expensive on FanDuel. Easy to reach on DraftKings. But the Rockies are always underappreciated when they're in their home park. 4.24 implied total is not nothing. This team's normally in the low threes. Phillies bats, Rockies bats, Aaron Nola. Don't use Mike Lorenzen. 2 to go. Cubbies, Guardians. This one also has a little bit of weather in the area, but it's warm in Chicago today, 70-degree day, but a 22% chance of precipitation. Winds blowing across the field, so no crazy weather concerns. Kind of a middle-of-the-road kind of a Wrigley day. I think Cade Horton's in play at 8,000, 9,200. Projects out pretty well. Like that price on DraftKings a little bit better, going up against a fairly low-end Guardians lineup. We'll see if Chase DeLauter is in it. Didn't he take a bump the other day? I'm not thinking of the April Fool's joke. He did actually take he had a foot injury, but he's playing. Okay. Oh, we have the lineup. How about that? So DeLauter's in the lineup. He did take a bump, and then simultaneously somebody had sent out a April Fool's Chase DeLauter to the IL blah, blah, blah thing the other day that got people up in arms for a couple minutes on social media. But DeLauter's here. He's active, and the Guardians benefit from that. He's priced up at 3,800 already on FanDuel. 4,000 on DraftKings seems a little bit more reasonable for the youngster. He's obviously off to a great start. But Quan, DeLauter, Jose Ramirez, and a little bit of Kyle Manzardo, those are your threats from the Guardians. Otherwise, kind of free sailing for Cade Horton here. 118 innings, 22 starts last year, just a 20% strikeout rate, but a solid 11% swinging strike rate. Pitched to a 2.67 ERA, but a mid-fours xFIP and Sierra. This is probably the real number, the real expectation. He was okay in terms of contact, just a 2.10% home run rate, but over the threshold there, right at it there, slightly below in terms of exit velo. Stuff grades out just all right, but a location-oriented pitcher. Good, not great option. Like him a lot better at the 8,000 on DraftKings, but a very good target in terms of the opponent because there are a lot of Ks through the back end of the lineup. Those final 7 hitters, that's a 25.7% strikeout rate last season. The first 3 guys don't strike out much at all, but the final 7 the final 6 rather kind of do. On the Cubs side, going up against Joey Cantillo, he had a solid year last year in 13 starts, 95 and a third, little bullpen work as well, 26.9% strikeout rate, only allowed a 2.49% home run, but like Horton, we're over the mark there, limited on barrels, which is good. That was the saving grace in the home run department, 89.5 miles an hour of exit velo, some consistently hard hit balls there, but he did induce a 12.1% swinging strike rate, had an effective year for missing bats, finding strikes, finding strikeouts, 3.21 ERA, not betrayed by the 3.66 xFIP, 3.83 Sierra. So I think we can get to some shares of Joey Cantillo, especially on DraftKings at 68. 75 on FanDuel. First start of the year, we only got 3 2/3, 5 strikeouts, but 3 walks through a lot of pitches, 4 hits, 2 earned runs. I think we do a little bit better than that, but we're probably capped at 5 innings. I don't know that I'm chasing on FanDuel where the quality start might be in doubt on a deep pitching slate. Cubs bats definitely in play against the lefty, though. For anything positive about Cantillo, there's equally positive things to say about the Cubs lineup. Nico's a good leadoff option, 42-31. Solid slash line last season, stole 29 bags, creator runs 9% better than average. Bregman, tremendous righty bat, hit 18 home runs in 2/3 of a season last year, 337 ex-Woba under the 356 Woba. Overperformed a little bit in the long run maybe, but still a very good bat. Low strikeout, high walk, makes good contact. Doesn't mash in terms of barrels, but consistently above 40% hard hits. Ian Happ, always above 40% hard hits, double-digit barrels each of the last 2 years. 23 homers, a 342 on base, 354 ex-Woba last season. Creator runs 16% better than average. Switch hitter, tremendous option from the 3 spot. 4,100, a little bit cheap on DraftKings compared to the 34 on FanDuel as well. 6.56 is number 3 on this team in the home run model today. Only Michael Busch, Alex Bregman ahead of him. Carson Kelly in the middle, 3,200. Fair price for a cleanup hitting catcher, 2,600 on FanDuel also works. You can use Kelly back and forth at first base on FanDuel in place of Michael Busch with a lefty on the mound, with Busch being 3,800 compared to the 26 for Kelly. Playing a little bit of game. Obviously, Busch is the better bat between the two, but given that price discount, given similar positioning in the lineup and correlation with the guys above them, Kelly's very much in play there, and you get a lower ownership number when you're going to him on FanDuel because the position's not as much not required. Busch, major power upside, 34 long balls last year, a 378 xWOBA, 140 WRC plus, major source of premium contact. Dansby, never sleep on Dansby Swanson, 37.29, and whoever's making these prices is sleeping on him. 24 homers, 20 stolen bases last year, 345 xWOBA under that ugly 310 mark, 99 WRC plus last year. Love him to come roaring back, given everything that we can see under the surface. Matt Shaw, mix and match quality talent. PCA, down lineup against the lefty at 56.37. Those prices don't really work all that well from down there. Obviously, the counting stats are great. We talked about the up and down season from last year. A lot of talent there, but a bad spot in the lineup going up against the lefty for the first couple plate appearances. Don't love it at those prices. Miguel Amaya, mix and match as another catcher in this lineup. So again, those are your 3 priorities if you're going to this team. Chase DeLauder, just an all-world start. 4 home runs, 273, 304, 818 in 23 plate appearances. Pretty ridiculous start to his first season in the show. Stephen Kwan just hits for average, gets on base. Did have a handful of home runs last season, but we just need him as a catalyst for this offense. 330 on base, 272 average. Could improve on both of those numbers and create more than a 99 WRC plus this year. Jose Ramirez, superstar by any measure, 59, 39, fairly priced. 30 homers, 44 steals last year. Enough said. Kyle Manzardo, power. 27 home runs from the left side in just 531 plate appearances last year. Just a 329 WOBA, 322 expected. Those aren't great marks. Needs to improve a little bit maybe in the premium contact. Those are good premium contact numbers, but to really hit the next level as a power bat, we knew to improve those a little bit. Could push the walks up a little bit as well. 9%, not bad gains though, from up from 5.8 the year before. Bo Naylor's a low-end catcher with a little bit of pop if he happens to connect, but too many strikeouts. Did draw 10.9% walk rate last season while cutting strikeout down to 23.9. Didn't really impact them, though. 195, 282, 379 slash line. Ouch. Ana Martinez, mix and match, light contact-oriented hitter. Daniel Schneemann, Gabriel Arias, you got 11+% barrel rates out of both players. Substandard slash lines, substandard totals, 12 home runs, 11 home runs, 79, 77 WRC plus. But if they make contact like this year, I like both players to improve on those numbers, particularly if they cut a little bit out of strikeout, particularly Arias. Brian Rocho here for defense. Cade Horton on DraftKings. Cubs bats. Cade Horton on FanDuel. Joey Cantillo on both sites. Actually, Joey Cantillo on DraftKings, Joey Cantillo on FanDuel. Guardians bats. A little separation between the sites for both these pitchers, though. And then we round things out with our last game. If you're still here, I appreciate you. Hit the like button, subscribe. If you were here earlier and you don't hear me now, I also still appreciate you, but you don't hear me say it. Willie, often misspelled Wiley, means crafty, cunning, and skilled at using tricks to achieve goals. It describes someone sly or shrewd, or often implying a bit of deception, like Wile E. Coyote, who wasn't too wily. So, last game up, 4.48 implied total for the Orioles, 4.13 for the Pirates. It's Mitch Keller. It's Kyle Bradish. Bradish, as mentioned, a lot of expectations for a big breakout season, just given the quality of the stuff, given some of the talent that we've seen from him. 4 2/3 in the first start, 4 strikeouts, 3 walks, up and down line all over the place. Give up 3 runs, 2 of them earned on just 2 hits over 19 hitters, but one of them was a home run. A little bit messy there. It's going to be some bumps in the road like that along the way, but he's got a great target here with the Pirates in town. That said, 4.13 implied total is a little bit up for these Pirates because they are improved. They got Brandon Lau in the lineup now. They've got O'Neal Cruz, hopefully with his head screwed on straight. Brian Reynolds, hopefully in a resurgent season. Marcell Ozuna's in this lineup now. Ryan O'Hearn is in this lineup now. Connor Griffin, their top prospect, one of the top overall prospects in all of baseball, is now in this lineup as of today. Spencer Harwitz is not a bad bat. This is a greatly improved Pirates team that's going to be frisky throughout the season. So Kyle Bradish, good as he is, not entirely safe. 10,000 on FanDuel, 31.6 projected, perfectly fine. You can definitely go there against these Pirates. 8,300 on DraftKings puts them even more firmly on the board. Major strikeout potential, but also a little bit more risky, I would say, given some of the blips from Bradish and just the quality of improvement that the Pirates have made. Keller is a pitcher we never fully trust. Just a 20% strikeout, did make 32 starts last year, not a ton of depth, 6.8% walk, 4.19 ERA, 4.17, decidedly average across all of these numbers, slightly below average strikeout rate. Season debut, went 6, struck out just 3, but didn't walk anybody. Shutout against the Mets over 6 innings, 3-hit shutout, faced 21 hitters. That's the upside that Mitch can give you from time to time. He's got that talent in his bag. You'll get 8 to 10 of those throughout the season, and then you'll get 18 to 20 clunkers, and not that much in the middle. Against the Orioles, we know that these Orioles can go bust completely from time to time, but that is a healthy total. There are good bats up and down this lineup. I lean toward the bats. I don't think it's Mitch Keller day. 75, he's at least a dart as an SP2 on DraftKings. 87 on FanDuel is a little bit uncomfortable, though. I don't think we go there on FanDuel. Can definitely draw Orioles bats against. Taylor Wood with all that power, 36 home runs last season, a 117 WRC plus. Feels awfully cheap against Mitch Keller at 43, 3,000. Good way to get things started. Gunnar for 54 for 32 on FanDuel. 32 is very, very cheap for Gunnar Henderson. 54 is correct on DraftKings. 17 home runs, 30 stolen bases in a bit of a dip last season. Love him to come back to life with all the additions that this team made around him, like Pete Alonso, who only hit 38 home runs while having a tremendous year across the board last year, creating runs 41% better than average, and underperforming with a 368 WOBA against a 386 ex-WOBA. Pete Alonso's got a lot to show us. Adley Rutschman for 4,000 for 2,600. Fairly cheap. Guy looking to reclaim his talent. Only hit 9 home runs in 365 opportunities last year, 220, 307, 366. He's a whole hell of a lot better than that. Sammy Basayo, another catcher potentially in this lineup, 33-26. Gonna develop into one of the best hitting catchers in baseball, full stop. The kid is very, very good. Still developing, but a 7.36 in the home run model today. Tyler O'Neill has a 7.63, just devastating right-handed bat when all things are going right and when he's healthy. 16.5% barrel last year. Hard hits dipped bad, though. 48-4 down to 39-1 in his partial season. Was just injury rattled all season. Never really got it going. Sub Mendoza, sub 300 on base, 91 WRC plus. Needs a reboot, and off to a decent start this season in his plate appearances. Didn't hit his opening day home run as per tradition. Actually, no. 1 home run on the board, but just 143, 294, 357. I thought he had a couple other hits, a couple more hits in there. Only 17 plate appearances, obviously, again, means nothing, but it's there. 16 plate appearances so far for Colton Cowser. We need him to get things going as well this year. 16 home runs. They keep closing out the plate appearances. 16 home runs for him last season, but much more power than that from the left side for him as well, given the barrels, the premium contact that he makes. Down the bottom of the lineup for the O's, Kobe Mayo, Blaze Alexander. Blaze put interesting bat on ball last year in 266 plate appearances. Didn't amount to anything, 99 WRC plus. Bad numbers across the board, 7 home runs. But that contact is at least interesting. Struck out 32% of the time, though. Kobe Mayo, also minorly interesting contact, given the double-digit barrels, but too many strikeouts. Adequate walk rate at 9.2, but didn't really turn it into much, 11 home runs. More prospect pedigree than this. We'll see what he becomes. 2,600, 2,500 is fairly cheap at the corners, though. On the Pirates side, O'Neal Cruz, superstar talent, 4,900, 3,000. 20 home runs, 38 stolen bases last year. Padded fantasy scoring with the stolen bases, obviously. That is way off the mark for his actual talent, though. So far this year, 3 home runs on the board already, 304, 333, 696. I'm calling it early. I called it on opening day. I called it last year as well, and it didn't happen. This is the year for the monster O'Neal Cruz breakout. We're off to a good start for it, which is nice to see after writing it in multiple articles and calling for it on that opening day show. But I absolutely adore this player. I acquired him in the Dynasty League in the offseason because I was expecting big things. Just, Judgy and Stantian levels of barrels and hard hit rates over the last few seasons. There's just so much more here for a player who's already elite stealing bases. If you can get on it, he stole 38 bases while getting on less than 30% of the time. Just an 86 WRC plus, a long way to go to get back to quality, but a superstar level talent on any given slate. And he's only 49. He's only 3,000. Still has his shortstop eligibility on top of everything else on FanDuel. Love it. Brendan Lau, a lot of power, 31 home runs last season. 553 plate appearances, not a bad total for him. He deals with injuries a lot, but when he's here, it's fantastic. Lefty bat with a ton of power, 44-36. More expensive on FanDuel, the most expensive player on this team on FanDuel. Feels a little bit silly when O'Neal Cruz is priced 600 less, but Lau's off to a good start, and got seasons under his belt of quality. Brian Reynolds, bad year last year, only 16 home runs and 99 WRC plus. We can forgive him one bad season in a very good career. Still made good contact. Needs to cut the strikeouts back down. I'd like him to do that with a lot more help in the lineup this year. Marcell Ozuna slumped to just 21 home runs last year. He hit, 40-something the year before? 39 the year before. So he still probably has some power to give. 11.4% barrel, 44.4% hard hit. Slip year over year, 2 years in a row, but still tremendous upside for power from the right side. Still drew a 15.9% walk rate, so he can contribute even if he's not blasting home runs. But I like the power to get flipped back on this year in the long term. Ryan O'Hearn, solid lefty bat, hits for average, gets on base like crazy. 15 to 18 home run type of a player, but a good run creator, 127 WRC plus last season. As mentioned, Connor Griffin, absolute priority if you're going Pirates. 35 is a good price, 25 is a better price. One of the top prospects in all of baseball. Give you some numbers on him real quick here. Got to get out of the show and get the site updated before the slate starts. Last year in 563 plate appearances in the minors, 21 plate appearances in AAA was the only AAA experience he had. That was this year. Last year from high A to double A as a 19-year-old in his first season of professional baseball. This is a kid who was drafted in 2024, 9th overall pick. 21 home runs, 65 stolen bases, 333, 415, 527. That's playing as a 19-year-old. 231 plate appearances in A-ball, 234 in high A, 98 in double A, and now he's in the show. In those 21 plate appearances this season as a 20-year-old in AAA, 438, 571, 625 with a 232 WRC plus. Didn't homer, but stole 3 bases. Not bad for 5 games. So yeah, he's good. Spencer Harwitz, underrated option. 272, 353, 434 in a partial season last year. Hit 11 home runs. This is an interesting enough bat. Low strikeout, high walk, very discerning hitter. Decent barrel rates, nothing star caliber or anything like that. But those are okay for a player like this who's going to consistently put bat on ball or draw a walk. Good on base at 353, 119 WRC plus. Extremely, extremely underrated player. I don't love that he's first base only on both sites now. I like him better when he had a little bit of flexibility. But given the nature of this team and how cheap he is, I do think you can use him there. Nick Gonzalez and Henry Davis mix and match pieces. Am I remembering correctly that Davis is off to a good start? Am I thinking of somebody else? I'm thinking of somebody else. Yeah, mix and match pieces to round things out down the bottom of the Pirates lineup. They're both cheap. I'll give them that. Gonzalez had an okay year for average last year, but pretty bad in terms of the WRC plus at 82. And Henry Davis was half of that at 41. That is your slate from top to bottom, gang. Is that true, Josh? I hadn't heard that. Malfunction in the roof in Texas? I didn't realize that. Yeah, Cap. Pittsburgh arrows pointing straight up, given that pitching staff. I don't see anything about that out there. Yeah, Josh, I don't see that. Larry's chiming in saying he doesn't think it's true. I think that might have been misinformation. I don't see it reported anywhere, just in a quick Google, and had not heard that. Obviously, that would be impactful if that's the case. Ducking, I appreciate you too, buddy. Josh, I'll do some investigating between shows, and we'll try and track that down. But let me punch out of here. We're coming up on 12:30. I got to throw some quick updates for the confirmed lineups up on the site so we can build some lineups for this thing in the next little bit. 105 start for your 10-gamer on DraftKings, your 2 split 5-game slates on FanDuel during the day. Everything's up on the site right now. 5 games at night for a FanDuel main slate starting at 7:45. That game is a Showdown Island game on DraftKings, followed by a 4-game late slate for the 9 o'clock games. Once this slate locks, those slates will be up. Projections only. Home run picks for that slate is already up. I probably won't re-rank stacks. Maybe I will. I don't know. Depends on how it goes through hockey and basketball projections. All that shit's going to be up in a little bit. Let me punch out of here. Thank you guys very much. You absolutely rock out there. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Check out rotoscouts.com. Jump in our Discord, which is also linked in the description. Discord's entirely free. Come join the community. Hang out with everybody. Under $1 a day at Rotoscouts includes everything. That is all in pricing. A lot of bang for your buck. So check that out. Good luck out there today. Somebody go win something. Share those results when you do. And we'll see you tomorrow. Later, gang. Oh, no. We'll see you on Monday. Later. Going to the Yankee game tomorrow.